Peace. I wonder if everyone can hear me. Let me know. You can put a one in the chat, any one of them. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Peace, Anubians. Greetings. I am Akoti Yafe. Welcome to our midday affirmation. Give thanks to the Most High. Give thanks to my head, Chief Yuya, for allowing this space. Uh, Shalom, Chief Yuya. I see you on
Hi,
YouTube.
give thanks to my head, Chief Yuya, for
Okay, you
allowing
can
this
see
space.
like
Shalom, Chief Yuya.
I can see Naya. Peace. Okay, you can hear me. Great. Great, 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 great. Great, great, great. Okay. Can you hear me in Clubhouse land? Just put a one in the chat. Let me know. Let me know. All right, loud and clear. Give thanks. Give thanks. All right. So we're gonna get started. Okay. Peace, 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 peace. Okay, great. I think you can hear me in Clubhouse. Okay, great, great, great. So, greetings. As I said, give thanks for being here. Give thanks for joining us for the midday affirmation for today, this first day in our 8th month. Today is the 14th. So, this is a day of power, right? Um, Also, a day of Oshun, right? That number 5. So, what are we talking about? Levity of heart. Um, Interestingly enough, how we got here, this dawning, give thanks for Akoti Yamina for reminding everyone that we were going to be here this afternoon. And she said Levity. And it's so funny because when I was searching for like how I wanted to title what we're going to talk about today, I mistook Levity for levity. And I realized levity was actually the word that I was looking for, not liberty. And what is levity? Levity. It means like lighthearted. So many times, like I struggle with earthly attachments, whether it be physical, mental. But I was recently charged with examining whether my heart is circumcised and to focus on getting to that space. So naturally, levity made sense. Also, levity it is it has Latin roots, right? It means light, like whether it mean lightweight, like levitating. So that's where we get the word levitating. It's levitas. And interestingly enough, in Hebrew, the word for heart is lev. So it was kind of like a play on I'm low in Clubhouse. Oh no. Let me see. How's that? Is that better? Let me know. Let me know if that's better in Clubhouse. Let me know. It might be I'm too far away from the microphone. I'm not sure. Peace, 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 peace. All right. Let me know in Clubhouse if it's too low. I see y'all. Shalom. Shalom, Aki Rahim. Shalom, Naya, you're here too. Peace. Iris McCabe, nice to have you. Peace, Hamza L. Peace, Yakira Eden. Peace, peace. Aima Sequoia. Peace, Ramik. Let me know if I'm too low on Clubhouse, and I'm gonna see what I can do. Maybe I need to just take the phone off the mount or whatever. So we're here. So and give thanks for all of y'all coming in. Peace, Ema Yakira Eden. I see you on Facebook. I'm sorry, not Facebook. YouTube. I don't even know where I am. YouTube as well. So peace, everyone. So as I was saying, lev, which is that first part of levitas, means heart, right, in Hebrew. So it's a play on words. It's almost like, heart of the hearts. And when we go into the part about levity, it's how we maintain the lightness of our heart, right? The lightness. I think someone's trying to come on Clubhouse. I did put it in. Of our heart, right? The lightness. What is happening? I think someone's trying to come on Clubhouse. I did put it in. Of our heart, right? The lightness. What? I think someone's trying to come on Clubhouse. I did put it in. Of our heart, right? The lightness. Okay. I think we got that out of the way. So, Chief, maybe try again. There you are. There you are. Am I still low on Clubhouse? No, we having technical difficulties. I got like several devices here. No? Okay. Good, good, good. I don't hear you if you're speaking, Chief. Hmm. Can you hear me on Clubhouse? It kind of seems like no one can hear. So just let me know. Because I don't hear anyone on Clubhouse, actually. I don't hear you, Chief, if you're talking. Hmm. All right. So I'm going to keep going. So, okay. Peace, everyone. So, like I was saying, levity, levitas, we're talking about light, being lightweight, rising, and also we're talking about the heart. So, like I said, while it's Latin for from levitas, which means light is in weight, in Hebrew, that first part of the word actually means heart. It's still low. What is happening? Maybe there's like a cover. How about now? Is that better? Am I close? Maybe I needed to be closer to the mic. Can you hear Chief? Are you talking? I just unmuted. We can't hear you. Oh. All right. So we're gonna try to do something on Clubhouse real quick. I can't hear you at all if you're talking, Chief. Because I see you on stage, but I don't hear you. Not sure what just happened. So can you hear me or is it just really, really low? All right, I'm gonna keep going while I try to figure this out. So the definition of levity is lightheartedness, high spirits, buoyant or floating. It could also be excessive or unseemly frivolity or a lack of steadiness, flippant, flighty, or silly. It actually used to be referred to as a physical force that would have been opposite from gravity. So as gravity pulls down toward the earth, levity would have been that opposite force that pulls in the opposite direction, up, right? But now when it's used, it's just being referred to as a manner of being. However, from a spiritual concept, that idea of an opposite force which pulls us down or pulls us up from down, actually it applies, right? And especially when we're talking about levity of the heart and that circumcision of the heart. Peace, Dr. Arlene. Peace, Darian Lampley. I see y'all all coming in on YouTube. Let's see if I can. What I'm gonna do is create a raise hands list. Open. So it's open to everyone. I see you on here, Chief, but I don't see. If I leave, the room will end. So I don't want to leave. Is it still low? Is it still low on Clubhouse, or can you hear me? Yeah, I'm not hearing anyone. I'm not hearing you. So we're just gonna have to kind of be on YouTube. We're on YouTube and Facebook, and maybe I can go live on Instagram. But we're recording, so this will be up. Peace, Aki Zach. Yes, so you can hear me on Clubhouse. Okay. All right. Great. So it used to be referred to as still low. Okay. It used to be referred to as, like I said, an opposite to gravity. So basically, there's two different definitions, right? That can refer to levity, but both apply to what we're talking about here, which is levity of the heart. So there are times when levity is given a bit of levity is necessary, needed, or wanted, based on the situation, and it could even be appreciated. It's a reminder that balance is necessary. It reminds me about a cipher that we had last year on lights, and how light in that instance had the two definitions. This is very similar, like being light, being those celestial embers, being that fire that burns away things that will corrupt us, but also being buoyant, being light in weight, right? Being lightweight, being able to ascend. So it's kind of the same thing. So we need levity in order to be buoyant. In the womb cipher yesterday, we discussed emotional maturity and how we have to be balanced by the centeredness of our hearts. But if you're not balanced or centered, you can't be balanced or centered if you're off kilter, right? If you're weighed down on one side, like if you're thinking of something like on a maybe on a table, or even a scale, if it's off by even a little bit on one side, it's going to tilt, it's going to favor the heavier side. So it made me think, so when you think of like circumcising the heart, if you're still tethered and circumcising from those earthly desires, if you're still tethered to that, how are you going to be centered? Because you're leaning, right? You have to be straight. We want our spines to be straight and erect. So I was thinking, like, of a hot air balloon example. In order to go up, they have to release the air balloons from the weights. It's like usually they use like sandbags. So they have to release the sandbags and that weight. Okay. I'm going to end the clubhouse room. Okay. I'll do that. Okay. Is that better? All right, so we're going to end the clubhouse room and we'll restart on Clubhouse, but we're going to keep going on our YouTube channel. Yeah, it's really low. I'm not sure why it's low. The volume is up at its highest. Yeah, I'm not sure why it would be like really low. All right. So that we don't have any confusion. So we'll end the room and we'll restart it. So I'll restart it. So I think everybody's over here as well anyway. So we'll restart the room on Clubhouse. So I was thinking of the hot air balloon. Is there more Clubhouse music that feels emotionally better? Huh? As in, there is no more Clubhouse music. Okay, so we'll just stay here. Okay. I think that's what you're saying. So we'll just stay here. Okay, that's fine. So okay. So when we think of a hot air balloon, it just kind of, it'll stay there unless you take those sandbags away, unless you stop, you remove those anchors from, allowing you to rise and go up. Yeah. Okay, good. Good thing, security there. That's good. So yeah, it allows you to go up. It could go rise. Like, I don't know if any of you have ever, seen hot air balloons or been on a hot air balloon. You have to remove the anchors. And so it's similar to that idea of circumcising the heart. I mean, I'm talking about removing anchors, and circumcision involves cutting, but you get what I'm saying. So, I mean, even if you want it, you can cut the lines, whatever is tethering you from keeping it go up. If you remember Wizard of Oz, like when he was trying to leave at the very end of the movie, they had to cut the lines in order for him to, go and get back to Kansas and whatever. Right, Akizak, they hit it with fire too. I'm gonna get into that. So it's that piece, that idea of separating what I'll do is I'll put the StreamYard link in. So if people want to comment and come in, I'll put the StreamYard link in and you can join me on video. And we'll do it like that. Okay. So I'm gonna put the link into the chat on YouTube. So for those of you, so you should be able to see it on YouTube as well as Facebook. So if you do have something that you want to share, please feel free to click it. You should be able to click it, and you could come on. You could just join on, and that would be like amazing. And we'll have some fun. We'll do something a little different for this midday affirmative. So yeah, so then yes, and on the other end of that, we have the balloon. And then the balloon is fire. And that fire is like propelling, it's pushing that hot air. It's a hot air balloon. It's pushing that hot air to help the balloon lift that basket with all those people in it or whatever else you got in it off the ground. So that's that idea, like, you know, that was the visual that I had when it came to levity of heart, you know, so thinking about that basket being the heart and those sandbags being what you have to cut yourself away from, and that hot air balloon is what's rising. Other thing about what that fire, when we look at Deuteronomy, right, it said this is where the circumcision of heart comes in. Deuteronomy 10:16 says, circumcise therefore the foreskin of your heart and be no more stiff-necked. So that stiff-necked is that pull to our desires. If we're kind of leaning, we're kind of leaning to that side or leaning toward the ground because we're pulling toward those earthly desires and the things that we want. We're cutting ourselves off from Yah, right? In the Anu way, it gives us a little bit of that, like the diving a little bit more into that, where it tells us not to hunt the desires of our own heart because the consciousness of Yah lives there. So if we go back to that hot air balloon, that fire, that purification, as you mentioned, Akizat, that's what's trying to get us up off the ground. That's what's pushing us up off the ground or pulling us up off the ground. But if we refuse to cut those lines, we're going to stay anchored to what is, you know, going to fall away and pass away instead of what's divine and eternal. That's what's wanting us to go up, and upward. Yeah, so let me know if you see the link in the chat, and you're welcome to join live on camera in the chat. So yeah, so not to hunt the desires of our own heart. On the flip side of that, the other part of the idea of being levity, of levity and levity of heart, remember I said, is that unsteadiness. So if you're unsteady in knowing that the consciousness of Yah resides in your heart, you're unsteady with following that and being more attuned to going up and staying that, you're gonna be unsteady. You're gonna be flippant. You're gonna be flatty. Oh, I don't know if I want to stay. Okay, good. You see the link. I don't want to stay. I really like this music. Or I really like this type of food, you know, or I really like to work for this place, you know, and I'm all those things, you know, and I'm, you know, actively trying to cut those tethers away. Because, you know, you get so comfortable, and, you know, those creature comforts are a thing. They're a thing. Those creature comforts are powerful. So you have to be able to, like, you know, cut away from that. If not, you will be unsteady in going up. You won't necessarily be able to rise up and ascend. Or as TPR put it in his podcast on Killing Me, transcend. You can't, because you're leaning and you're still here. You know, you leaning with it, rocking with it, and you're not just, you know, going all the way up. That's what we want to do. We want to be all the way up. You know, also if you're unsteady, you can be easily toppled over, or knocked off your square, right? If we're not anchored in the Most High at all times, then it's easy to get back into the pits, and it happens very quickly. And then as a woman, I have to say, then that means I'm not reflecting, because that means I'm disconnected from the Most High. And if we're going by that hierarchy, Yah, or the Elohim, then man, then woman, then child, I'm disconnected from my mate as well. So we have to, you know, really take it a little bit further and think about it that way. I really wanted people to be able to share their thoughts on levity of heart. But I don't know if you're, you know, you're going to want to be like, oh, you got to go on camera, because Clubhouse is easy because you ain't got to be on camera. But if you know, follow the link, that means you got to be on camera. So I'm willing, I'll see like a bubble pop up for those of you who are brave enough to go on camera at this time. I know for those of you in the West Coast, it's still early, but you know, you're welcome to join on camera and like share your thoughts, and I can like cue you in. So, levity of heart, and then and oh, oh. Okay. Peace, Dr. Zach. This is so much.
Peace.
You know,
All
and I
right.
have a for you. I have a film reference, but let's see if you hit it.
Okay, let's do it. Let's do it.
So that part about levity, I was listening to Chief's his segment on the Okan realm, because that also talks about the Yoruba concept of the heart. And they make reference to the Matrix. And as they were doing, I was like, yeah, it's like when Neo was trying to learn how to jump, right? And it's like you had to stay up in the air. And he's like, just jump. And he plummets right down to the earth because he did not have faith. He was disconnected. So he didn't have faith that he could stay up. So I was like, I had that ready in the pocket, ready for you.
Yo, so even when, let's go to the Matrix. That's what I'm talking about. Let's do it. When everybody was watching him, and the thing that was said was nobody ever makes it on their first jump, right? And it's a lot of times, even when we talk about faith, as you just mentioned, um, it's usually the substance of things hoped for, right? But now we start to look at the things that we are saying, or that we are stating out of our mouth, that we have learned. Even Chief says that hope and belief are both products of anxiety. So it's something that you really don't know. So when one is weighed down, you could be weighed by the anxiety of the world that is constantly pushing certain narratives on you, or constantly feeding you certain things, or stuck in fight or flight, so that now you can't raise yourself up in order to now see your own divine purpose, or see what you should be doing, because you're constantly trying to fix somebody else's problem. Or even in the sense of some of the things that maybe some of your past transgressions that maybe one may be trying to run from, and saying that, well, I'm not going to, atone for the things that I've done. I'm not going to go back and say, you know what, I effed that up. I'm going to just keep going forward, because, life doesn't go back, it goes forward. But then at the same time, sometimes some people will wake up. I just feel so heavy, dog. Like, I just feel so heavy. And not being able to jump from one spot to another, because now life or certain circumstances that maybe they have done are weighing them down. It's like, hold on now. Are you going to now atone? Are you going to recognize these are the things that you've done? Are you going to now release some of these things, or maybe something that somebody has done to you, and now you're holding that grudge, and now that's that weight, that anchor that keeps pulling you back down, that you don't want to let go of? Are you going to start to move past that, or are you going to hold on to that? That's ultimately going to keep one locked in the same position.
Yeah, and it may, as you're talking, I'm like, this reminds me of emotionally mature. Like for women, it is a key required quality. Like so much that is mentioned more than once throughout the On the Way when it pertains to women. And if we are unable to do, as you said, like we're gonna keep holding on to different feelings, like which myself I am guilty of, then we don't ascend. And then that's a sign of emotional immaturity, not being able to move past it and want to like keep back and go backwards. As we said a few midday affirmatives ago, like looking through the rear view mirror instead of most of your attention being on the front. Yeah, that rear view is there for a reason, and you should use it. It's kind of like that, if you don't know your history, you're doomed to repeat it. So you need that rear view mirror so you don't repeat. But that front not rear view mirror, and the rear, and the back window. That's what the back window. That's right.
I'm walking with you.
Not at the back window. But the front window, the windshield is bigger than anything, because that's where you need to go. You have to see where you're going. You get tickets and stuff, but there's things obstructing your view. So like, taking out those sandbags and circumcising the heart it's that concept of cutting away and not looking back, so you can move upward and onward. And we can have more than one person on the live. So like, Don't, our windows would just get smaller. So if you are, you want to share, we're not on Clubhouse today. We had some technical difficulties, but that's okay. We here. So if you want to join in, just click the link. It's in the chat and Facebook as well as YouTube, and I'll bring you in and you can share. You can share your piece. Greetings on the radio. I'll just kind of go to the chat. Greetings, April Simmons. Welcome. Nice to meet you, or virtually. um, good. Good point. Good. Yeah. So, the other idea of levity, we talked about like hunting the desires of your own heart. Um, Here's the other thing. During like a study group, I think it was Master Menulek that talked about. Someone asked a question about like the circumcision. We've been talking about the Book of Romans and Paul, maybe the great deceiver, for a minute. And there was a question asked about like, what are we made of? And so it makes me think we're made of, the earth. Our dome was made from that red clay. So that's that signal right there that there's always going to be some attachment to the earth. So that's why that circumcision is necessary, because like our heart is made out of that earthly flesh, but Yah resides there, right? That's that fire. That's that celestial ember that pushes that balloon up to get that basket off the ground. But because you're, part of that earth substance, it has to be something that you go for. It has to be something that is paramount as we go through our life journey, because if we don't, we won't ever know our purpose. We have to cut away, so that we can get back to that space and be reminded that that fire is going and it's there to push us off the ground. Peace. Oh, that's just you care saying peace to April. So peace. The other part is it made me think about another verse in scripture, Jeremiah 17:9. The heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it? And it goes on to say, like, only Yah knows the heart, and He tries people at their own level. So that's our proof that fire is there and that the consciousness of Yah lies in our heart. But if we're going to be too leaning toward earthly desires and cutting ourselves off from that covenant, then that's where we're going to stay. And eventually all the rest of those balloons that are like heated up and those embers that are ready to go upward and onward, they're going to leave us behind. So there's not necessarily like a lot of time. That's the other thing. We always think we have time. I'll do it tomorrow. No, we got to do it now. Now is the time. Now is the time to like have that levity of heart. And so I'm going to pause for a second. If you wanted to, if you have something else, Zach, or if someone else wanted to pop in, feel free. Maybe I'll try to.
Yeah. So while you're looking at that, it just made me think of a couple things. One of, trying the heart. It made me think of the Ma'atic, of where, you put the heart on one side and then it's the feather. And as we know, it's an ostrich feather. Letting you know that if you ever get kicked by an ostrich, and I think the chief would put this in the show, like it'll take your head off your shoulders, right? Letting you know that justice is swift. And it just made me think of, even when you saying that people think that, yeah, I got time, I'm gonna do it. I'm a gunner. They keep saying I'm a gunner, just means you're not gonna do it. And making all these fly little sayings of why they're in the situation that they're in, or why they're doing the things that they're doing. And then when something is presented to them in that moment where they have now a moment to say, I'm going to make a different choice, or I'm going to do a different decision, they choose instead to look in that the rear view as opposed to looking straight ahead. So when you don't understand, I'm the type of person that I think, and the chief has said this is very like, oh, let me tell you a little bit more about me, right? I'm looking back. I'm gonna keep looking back because now I want to try to avoid pain, or I want to try to avoid, being made fun of. My ego is so fragile that I want to try to avoid all of these things, because now I don't want to unlearn to relearn. I don't want to now be totally destroyed in order to become anew. But I'm going to stay there, and I'm going to stay stuck. And now, but I just want to complain, but I just want somebody to hear my complaints. And like, nah, it's you. One has to level up. One has to now say, you know what? Let's search the heart. Let's see. Let's see. Instead of me just always telling the effect of each story of this is what has happened, and let me tell you what has happened to me. I'm gonna start to tell you some of the causes. And because I was a nasty person, because my character is flawed, because I have a funky, nasty, filthy, stinking mouth, and I just can't, have any control over it. And I just blurt things out that piss people off. Now all of a sudden they just want to run from me. But I don't understand why I'm so lonely. Because of all of these things is why I'm in the situation that I'm in. And now when one starts to understand that the situation that they're in and saying that you are the cause of your causes, and how many times have I heard Chief say people work hard for their situations, right? And I'm saying situation because perception is not reality. Perception is a situation. And it's a situation that you put yourself in. It's a situation you can get yourself out of. But it's just a matter of now, do you want to commit yourself to the teachings? Do you want to commit yourself to a teacher? Do you want to submit yourself to a teachings and a doctrine? And that goes back to the podcast on the spirit of one. Hold on, we got 5-0 rolling. Okay, now we're back. All right, but the power and the spirit of one, of one teacher, of one doctrine, of one way of doing things, as opposed to now, yeah, I open myself up, but I study a little bit of this, I study a little bit of that, and now I know how to chew the meat and spit out the bones, if you know what I'm saying. Do you really? Do you really? I mean, if you really took time to just submit yourself and commit yourself to a teachings and a doctrine and a group that's going to be transparent with you, a group that's going to call you out on your BS, and a group, chief, let's go, man. Yeah, but a group that's actually going to call you out, man, and let you know that there's some things that you need to change, or there's some things that you need to fix, and not try to sugarcoat it, and not be one that, even when Jesus like, judge me, yes, judge me, because I need to know if I'm lacking, or I need to know if I'm getting better, or if I'm staying stagnant. But not these little fly sayings that people have will say, well, judge not who should be judged first, or you shouldn't throw stones if you live in a glass house, or you need to worry more about yourself. These are people that don't want to move. These are not people that want to elevate and have the levity of the heart, but more so be condemned to this world. And that made me even think of another podcast that Chief did was, I'm a gaseous being, and now we are now into a condensed being, which made me even think of now that old saying that I'm in this world, but not of this world. So now, in order for me to become nice and light, and unburden myself, now I have to now let go of this whole thing of what, humanity, or what they try to tell me is going to keep me bound and going to keep me trapped into this physical realm of saying that, yeah, now this is what success looks like because somebody else put that in front of me, or this is what relationships look like because somebody else put some of that in front of me. Can I unlearn that now in order to become nice and light, and then get up there in the circle of gods and breathe the breath of God? Yeah.
Yeah. And it's real easy to be like, I don't want to. Because, like, as our coach Maria always said, that ego lives in defense. I'm sorry. I'm sure she got that from you, Chief. The ego lives in defense, or
This
lives
is
in
true.
or
This is
offense.
true.
Always wants to stay there. Sometimes, and I don't know, like when that ego is working, it can have like a visceral reaction. Like you can almost feel it physically, where it's like I don't want to, and I can feel it like all over my body, and and it's almost like, is that you like almost resuturing your heart back to the earth? I decide I want to stay back, and so I'm just gonna do it. I'm gonna do all this, and I don't feel like going up. I don't feel like it because it hurts too much to detach. So I rather just like sew it up.
I guess that pause is for me.
Yes, and I'm also adding to the stream.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. So yeah. Peace, everyone. You know what I mean? Everybody who's listening, and especially those who jumped over from Clubhouse. We used to seeing us on Clubhouse. Yeah, good subject. As always. Just I guess my little input on levity is that it comes with a balancing agent naturally, and the balancing agent of levity is gravity. So one is dictated by nothingness and the obligation of serving a nothingness, and the other one is dictated by time. So your gravity is a time factor, and obviously your body becomes, or your physical body is grounded through the use of gravity. The sandbags, they don't actually really use those anymore. They just use those as props on movie sets. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, so I mean, it looked cool.
Episode of Family Matters where they're throwing the sandbags out.
Yeah, that's just for the TV show. Them joints.
Urkel, he was the alpha. I was thinking Steve Urkel. I was like, sandbags.
Nah, I mean, think about it. Pelican can fly by and poke the side of the bag, then you just fly up into outer space. So yeah, it's a health hazard.
Okay.
So but the thing about it is that when you think about levity deals with mutability or change. It's not just being light, but it's actually things that change. Whereas gravity keeps things constant. It's a constant that, sort of like time. It's a constant that moves forward, if you will. But levity relates itself to the Levites or your Levitical laws, and as many may know, the Levites or the children of Levi were the lower caste priest, out of the children of Israel. They weren't the higher; they were considered the inferior priest. But one of the things that was significant when they came into the land of Canaan is that they were the only members of the crew who received land. Well, received cities. Excuse me. They received cities, but they didn't receive land. And what that meant was that they were given power, they were given political power, but they were not given an inheritance. So the concept of a Levite or levity is that you're wielding a sort of political power or spiritual power, if you will, but you're not doing it for earthly resources. You're not doing it for what you're going to get in terms of time. That would be your gravity. You're not doing it. I'm gonna serve this way. I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that so I can get this later. You're in the moment and you're recognizing the authority that you have. Yeah, I'm a Levite. I'm a priest, and I'm functioning from that heart place. But at the same time, I'm not coming with any sort of expectations. This is not transactional. That's the difference. When you're functioning from a gravity perspective, everything is transactional, and you can literally feel the weight of that transaction with every step. I have to use this much force to step here, to lift myself off from the force of gravity, so forth, so on. But when you function in levity, it's a freedom. It's a liberation from the body. It's a liberation from thoughts of wanting, and you're recognizing that your inheritance, because the Levites, they weren't given land, but they were given Torah. So the whole concept there was that this is your inheritance. Your inheritance is something that is based more around wisdom and based more around the longevity of the thing inside of you that others can't see. We'll give the others the inheritance of the land, but land changes hands and all sorts of things happen. But this you will have forever. So it is that the levity or the ability to tap into the purpose and the bliss of the heart is what gives you the things that last forever. That's the secret of it. Whereas gravity are the things that are tethered and tied to a finite timeline. But those two they work hand in hand. You're not looking to escape your spiritual obligations through gravity and earthly investment, and you're not looking to escape the inevitable death cycle through your spiritual investment. Like you can't escape either one. They're polarities that work hand in hand. So yeah, I just wanted to share that. You know what I mean?
Give thanks, give thanks. And it made me think, like when you said Torah, they were given Torah. It's and that because they are the priests, and being that Torah was oral, back, it was an oral tradition. Like they have to learn it, they have to have it inside. It made me think like that is like the seat of their intelligence. And correct me if I'm wrong, like that's how I thought about it. And then that even kind of being like that Yoruba concept of the heart being the seat of intelligence. And maybe that's like, I just saw like a thread going that way, but maybe I could be like way off. But, I'm using like Torah as being like, this is the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. This is what we have to stay in that levity, that place of levity.
Well, yeah, it could be that. It could be that. But we've been writing for a long time. You know what I mean? So people will tell you things like, yeah, this was an oral tradition, it wasn't written down, because they don't want you to figure out that it was written down and this is what it originally said and this is who it was written to and this is the language it was written in. You have people who still will tell you that the Zulus have no alphabet. That's preposterous. Because they'll tell you the Zulu has no alphabet, but you could literally go online and within 30 seconds look at the Zulu alphabet. Like it was just up until recently that people acknowledged that there was an Akan alphabet. So the way that we write things, understand that if you have Torah, you have spiritual language. But spiritual language is symbolic. So it's not going to be written in the same sort of linear cuneiform that we're accustomed to. If you look at Adinkra symbols are scripture. But you just have to know how to read them and put them together. We put them on our clothes and, make stencils out of them and whatnot. You know what I mean? But it's no different than when people get Chinese tattoos and they got stuff in Mandarin and just, it means peace, it means happy, and it might not make any sense when you put the two together. So the symbols that we've had, you look at it like this. The 12 tribes of Yisrael were all given different gemstones that represented them. And these gemstones were used in an armor, right? That is a language. It's just, we're just not used to reading things like that. If you put, onyx in front of me and a pearl and, a piece of quartz, what does that mean? Now, if I had a dream about it and I told you the dream, you would probably interpret it for me. Right? So that means that's a language. That's Torah. Torah wasn't INTHE, BEGINING. That, it wasn't that. I might have spelled beginning wrong, but
it's okay.
I didn't ask you it was okay. I know it's I. No. But it's like banana. Sometimes I take a gamble with banana. Sometimes it's on, sometimes it's off.
Anna.
But either way, I'm still smart. So the thing about it, what I'm saying is, so it wasn't given in that way. So even when the Ma'atic laws or the 10 Commandments were given to Moshe, it wasn't given like THOUSH. It wasn't given like that. It would have been given in symbol. It would have been given in vision. And then that would have been interpreted. So the way you hide something is you just put it right in front of people.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So what symbols do we have in front of us, like on a daily, that may tell a story that we pay no attention to because we're waiting for a book with a copyright and a foreword and an introduction and then a table of contents. But man communicates like that. Spirit does not communicate like that. Mm-hmm. So we've had the Torah writings ever since we were breathed into. Because how else would you become a living soul and unless someone spoke the word inside of you? Mm-hmm. So Adoma had Torah. That was the whole issue with his violations. Like, I gave you the science. The Most High didn't just, all right, you're a living soul, go be free, go name all the animals. And how would I know how to name animals? All you did was breathe on me. right? So the breathing was the Most High injecting, here, let me tell you, this is how this works. And this is how planets are made. And this is a nebula. And this is a quasar. And this is this and that's that. So to even imagine that this process happened over a day is quite silly when you understand the Quran and it tells you about Allah and the amount of time that Allah took first, millions of years to study self before Allah created the second self, which was the woman. So if the creator of all the universes takes 1,000,000 years to study itself, yeah, I'm gonna get it in one day. You see what I'm saying? And when I lose a string in my sweatpants, I can't figure out how to pull it back through the loop again. But I could figure out, the entire world. Come on, so the Torah, or that breathing into, was giving those symbols. So that way now, when I see a tree or a leaf or a lake, I see Torah there, because you've given me the lexicon, if you will. You've given me the decoder. That's what the word is the decoder. So now everything I look at or see, I can see the sign in it, where I wouldn't have seen that before. I see the color green. Green is a color that we can see the most shades of out of any color. We see the most variations of green, the human eye. Why?
Green is everywhere. Green is everywhere. That's the heart. It's everywhere.
See what I'm saying? But blue is everywhere too, though.
That's true. It's up top.
So that tells you that right there is Torah. But we would ignore it if we're following Western thinking, as opposed to saying, okay, there's something about that green. Let me go explore these different shades of green, because green is also, there's melanin when there's green. I look at so many ancient deities green. Why do they make them green? What the heck? What's up with green? Why did they make money green in the US? It didn't have to be green. Why'd you pick that color? So just examples. So yeah, we've been had Torah. We just don't know how to read it. That's all.
And that not knowing how to read it, is that something that keeps us anchored to the earth? Not knowing how, and not even trying to look for the signs to read it and know that that's connected to us.
I would say to a degree, but more so our lack of humility keeps us anchored. Right? So, and what I mean by that is, not all of the children of Yisrael knew how to read the Torah. That's why it was given to the Levites. So they have to humble themselves to say, all right, I get it from you. Not a big deal. Or when it's time for sacrifices or things like that, I'm gonna go to you. Even if you go to other places, if you deal with Islam, or you deal with Isheshe, it's understood that we go to the Babalawo to have these things interpreted. I had a dream. Let me go speak to the Babalawo. So, as opposed to, I'll figure it out. Or I'm the type of person that goes inward. It doesn't matter. You may not have a gift for that. That may not have been given to you. Some people were given big muscles and some people were given little muscles. So when it's time to, I had a friend like that once. My car ran out of gas and we had to push the car. And he's an ex-football player. He's like 6'6", 6'7", almost 400 pounds, all muscle, but at the time we were actually coming back from the gym. I'm bodybuilding too. And he was like, yo, you get in and drive because I'm stronger than you. And, there was like just a brief moment, and we're on the side of the highway, but there was a brief moment where I wanted to challenge him, but I had to realize, like, yeah, I wasn't given 6'7", I wasn't given that in them gigantic, Nephilim bones.
He assessed it.
One day. You know what I mean? So that's the thing. Like, we have to recognize that the way we get back to it is by forming those communities and recognizing who has what in the community. Some people have the ability to look at Adinkra symbols and look at Medu Netir and look at Hebrew or Hebraic code, ancient Hebrew, not necessarily, yeah, the modern, but the ancient, and it comes together in their eyes. They can see it together, you know, and some people can't. And unfortunately, because we live in such a combative environment, when you can't, you combat.
Yeah.
You know, you say, "Oh, that book is false. That book is no. It's just you can't see what somebody else could see. That's all. You just can't see it." Or I've heard people say, "Oh, you shouldn't be dealing with Ifa. You got to deal with the Netirs because that's a more sophisticated, you know, form of the sciences." And when it got to Nigeria and stuff, no, you just can't see it. You don't have that gift. But maybe you could push a car up a highway ramp. You know, so
We ain't got time for that. We ain't got time to argue. This is what I can do well.
Yeah. You know, so I would say that would be it. Everybody can't learn it.
Yeah.
Everybody's not supposed to learn it, and everybody doesn't have time to be doing that.
Yeah. It reminds me we were sitting around the fire at the retreat, the spring retreat in March, and the wood, as it was burning, started.
You would sleep.
I was not asleep. I seen it. I have a witness here. I wasn't asleep the whole time. I remember.
Most of the
She
time.
was in and out. She was in and out. She was
When
present.
the meat wine came out, remember when the meat came out?
I do remember.
It was out right after that.
We remember. Yes.
But the logs, they looked like they had letters burned into them.
Yes, they
That
did.
because
That's a dream.
we had a conversation about that in your curator. I remember. I remember that. Like it looks like
When you woke up.
She was cold. It was chilly.
She woke up out of her sleep. Girl, you know what I saw? You saw the faces
I
in
need more blanket, right?
Dumbledore and Gandalf and all that didn't happen.
Well,
But
you know,
yeah, you're right. No, there are letters. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like when you subdue the earth, if you subdue something, you're gonna put your mark on it.
plant your flag.
Right. So if we are supposed to have dominion over all of the beasts of the field and the earth, that means that our stamp or our wisdom or our knowledge is going to be somewhere in all of it. It's like if you sit and speak to one of my children, you're going to hear me at some point because they've been hearing me forever. You know, or if you listen to my music, you're going to, wait a minute, that's a concept he said before, you know, like, oh, okay, this, I'm gonna always put the stamp in there, you know. So that's the thing. If you look throughout the earth, you're gonna see the creative stamp in it. And if you know how to read it, that's why farmers are usually such deep people, you know, because they're just studying the seasons and things like that and studying all those stamps.
so I wonder, when you were speaking about, you know, subduing a thing, like I've been thinking about with this segment, the heart and gravity, and even how it connects to the compass, right? And how the compass uses a magnet to help to set its location or set it to true north. And I'm thinking about, well, at some point there is a necessity to subdue that gravity or that weight that's kind of pulling us in one direction. And the way to do that is by maintaining a centered heart, or even recognizing that even with the chakras, the heart is the center, is the central point. It's kind of like you don't even get to those higher chakras if you don't get to first, but even up and through the heart. So that just made me like think of how we use a compass to navigate, and how that navigation connects with, you know, our journey, and not getting stuck or stagnated.
You really don't need it though.
The compass.
You really don't need the centeredness of the heart.
Oh,
Yeah. Gravity always gets beaten. Gravity gets beaten by time. You know, so no matter what you do, at some point your body's going to strip away and your spirit's going to go.
yeah.
Whether you're a moron or you're the most highly evolved person, you know, gravity always gets beaten by time.
We don't need to work. So then,
No, you
but
don't need
then
to.
there's the
But that's
work.
the specialness of being a human. That's what's so. You know, y'all said that the other night. I think it was a Shima or something. I didn't. You know, I let y'all say stuff. Well, I don't say anything, but
Come on.
hey, you gotta say. Hey, you gotta go through the wrong. You know what I mean? You gotta explore that, because if you don't explore the wrong, then you won't build your character. You know, so I say stuff that's off all the time. Hey, you said the air balloon thing. I wasn't gonna say nothing. If you would have got Clubhouse to work or whatever, I wouldn't be sitting here. You know what I mean? I wouldn't have said nothing.
Today, Clubhouse. I had to cut it. I had to cut
You like, you got the sandbags, and then sometimes you got to lose weight. You got to throw things overboard.
But you
This
still
is
got to
movies.
separate from
That's
the
a lot of
ground.
movie watching.
You still got
That's all that is.
I mean, it's anchored some way, right? Like
Hey,
that.
that's my point.
I don't know.
You don't know. You just the propane. They use propane. That's all you need. You don't.
Oh,
Yeah,
so it's just the heat. It's just the air and the heat.
I don't even feel like sitting here explaining it to
Oh,
you.
okay. All right.
So here's the thing. Like, that is the beauty of being a human, and that is the danger of being a human. You don't have to evolve.
Right.
That's
You
okay.
won't-
Like then somebody could be like, well, then what's the point? I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna have fun. I'm gonna live my life. I'm gonna do me. Anchor all the way.
Go ahead.
Digging my feet in.
Go ahead.
You can.
Who-
But there
who
is
are you
a cost.
Who are you to say what a person's supposed to be doing?
It's true.
You know what I mean? If someone's like, yo, I'm just living, I'm a good person. So, all right, well, go ahead, live, be a good person. But the thing is, it's like it's how serious you take your life, or you take life. It's how much you cherish the gift. You know what I'm saying? So like, I could eat garbage every day and just be like, well, we all gonna die anyway. Or I could be appreciative of what I was given and say, you know what? I'm gonna take care of this vessel because good looking out.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like everything works. You know what I mean? Like it's not like I was born with any, you know, any issues that would be lifelong and I'd have to struggle through for the rest of my life. So I can choose to appreciate that or not appreciate that. So it's the same thing when it comes to the life journey. You know, what makes it such a treacherous thing, but at the same time, it proves the nature of the creator, because if we did not have a choice, then we'd be saying that we'd be under the hands of a tyrant.
Right.
Sometimes I want to eat a little fruit from the tree over there. Why I can't eat a little fruit from the tree over there? You know what I'm saying? Like, go ahead. I told you it's gonna happen, but go ahead. That's the nature of life. You know, however you want to do this. Now, in the same instance, if you want to get cool with me, this is what you do.
Right.
If you don't, go ahead. But I'm gonna be nice enough to tell you what's gonna happen when you go out there.
Yeah. But that's, I'm sorry. That's what the children are anyway. That we party and BS and we sorry. We party and that's when we party and BS and that's like, oh, it's so hard. You're just so mean. We want to do this. And it's like we went outside and it's like, oh, he told us, we sorry. Take us back. Take us back. We stay in that cycle of gravity, levity, gravity, levity.
Yeah, I don't even know if I'd say levity. You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of godless people out here. And they have no interest in anything. Like there's people who listen to these segments that they enjoy the common sense aspects, but once you start talking about the Most High, they block that out. I don't want to hear nothing about no God. You know, there's some people who just have no interest in that whatsoever. You know, regardless of what they say to you. You know, there's people sitting in churches like that right now, and they just really in church because it's something to do. They like the music. Get to dress up, you know what I mean? You might hear some good advice, but they have no interest in having a relationship with some unseen father sitting in the sky somewhere. I am not interested. I'm good where I'm at. They got a nice whip sitting in the parking lot. You know what I mean? They're gonna go to the diner after church, have them some flapjacks. Like life is good. Flapjacks, leather, and gripping on wood grain. What else? Like, why do I need a God? So there are certain things that are implanted in other people's hearts. That's the levity, where they recognize they may come through. Some children come through with it already. And they recognize already, like, everything is not everything, but they sometimes feel out of place because nothing that is important to other people is important to them. And they struggle with that. Like, no, I don't want to go to the game. No, I don't care about Christmas. No, I don't, none of that is important. And it might be something else that pricks their interest, and it could be something just like working with animals. It could be something about that they're just super passionate about, or mathematics or something. They don't care about nothing else because they're coming through already with that cognition that life is much deeper than y'all realize. And I have an interest in being one of the people who goes deep. Some people just have eyes for it. Like sometimes you could look out in society, Christmas time. It's a warm part of the season, and I enjoy that time of the year because people are just nicer.
Sure.
Right? They hold the door for you. Stuff like that.
Nice.
You know what I'm saying? But I also be looking at people like, man, y'all so dumb. Y'all are so dumb. Like,
you are really dumb.
You are so dumb because how many years has it been? Charlie, how many years has it been? And there's so much proof out here that's telling you, like, he wasn't born December 25th, and this, that. We could just go through the list of everything that doesn't make sense, and you still do it anyway. Like, I don't want to be like you, because that just, I don't know, man. I don't, and that's I guess that's ego too, right? My ego says I don't want to be a sheep, and that's egoic. But I guess, and there has to be a line even with that where you recognize, yeah, but you still are kind of a little bit. Because let's go through all the other stuff that you do that you think is that you don't even pay attention to. Like I've said before, I was talking to someone about food and stuff. He was telling me how well he eats and stuff. And I asked him, I was like, yeah, but that cotton shirt you got on got crazy pesticides in it. And it's just soaking through your skin right now while you're talking. And he was like, yo, I ain't looking at it like. I was like, yeah, well, that's it though.
Maybe he washed it.
You can't wash that stuff
Still
out.
in there.
Wow.
It's still in there.
Pre-wash.
I pre-washed that.
Get in there.
Sanitized it.
Yeah. When the shirt shrink, that means it came out.
Right. Go pesticides. Come through out.
Right.
Nah. You know what I'm saying? Like, so those are things to consider. But yeah, it's just the wise only need a hint. Like I tell you all the time. So yeah, we're not like butterflies. Butterflies have to evolve. They ain't got no choice. I could have the mentality of a 15-year-old for the rest of my life and be all right, because this society will give me way more support if I'm like that than if I am the way I am.
Yeah.
Because it's set up to support that.
It is.
And where you can serve and not question and even act out. And then there are systems for that and there are measures. And, they're like, okay, he wants to choose that path. All right, he's on that escalator.
It's like,
You know how many gifts you get?
They plan for that.
You're even more, as a man, you're even more attractive to women when you got an idiotic mindset.
So make a picture.
like what you said about the, like they don't want Biggie. No, nobody wants the crooked back prince with the bloodline. They'll go with the idiot.
Nah, they want the dude that they went to high school with, that they had a crush on, who never matured or tamed, who finds her on Instagram and he's still just as stupid. And he reminds her of what it was like when they were young and everybody still had hope, because he's still out here thugging it. You know, even though he's 50, but he don't give a F. You know, he got cornrows and you know what I'm saying?
A little spot in the top.
Still got rims. You know, on like that's the one that she wants. You know, he spends all day in the gym working out and still goes to clubs or whatever. You know what I mean? So there are actually a lot of rewards in this society for not standing up as adults, as spiritual adults, for not really being Levites. There's a lot of rewards for staying grounded in the gravity of slow time.
Mm-hmm.
That even go ahead.
No, you sure? Okay, thank you. Okay.
Better be good. This better be
It
amazing.
better be good. Oh, no pressure. Well, when you were speaking about levity of heart and in children, as you were speaking, I was thinking of how, like, you know, they can just lose themselves in creativity or in an activity that they just have consistently been intrigued by or passionate about. And it just made me think about having that childlike mind. Like when we as adults enter into something that maybe is connected to purpose, how you realize how much time you lose doing that thing. But it's only, you don't even care about it. It's kind of like, oh, wow, I've been doing this for how many hours? Or, you know, I've been exploring this for how long? But you don't feel fatigued. And there's like a lightness and a freedom. And it just made me think of how we're charged to be like children. And maybe not necessarily just in that way, but that there's like a childlike energy that we're able to, or a state, or even a mindset that we're able to enter into when we're moving with purpose. And we only maybe only get there when we're like our heart is light. Because if I'm going into it like, oh man, I don't even want to do this. All right, what time is it? All right, the alarm went off 3 times. I know it's time to go on do XYZ. That there's no fun. Even if in the end you're like, okay, it went all right, it went well. It's like, well, I don't want to do this the next time. As opposed to you're excited about what you've discovered because it's just a passion or something that's aligned with your purpose. It doesn't matter how long you're on here talking about it or sharing, you know. So that just connected as far as like the way one can look at that, the levity of the heart and connecting it to that childlike experience.
Yeah.
I hope that's good enough.
How do you end up losing that though? Like you're saying, like when the heart is light.
Yeah, I think we lose a lot of it, just as you touched on in several of the podcasts, but one in particular is by the school system, by like persistent programming and just being broken down and only being routed to these particular paths that are predetermined, as opposed to even having the space and opportunity to explore what your path is in your youth. I think that's one way that we are grossly like placed outside of we're misshaped. And so then we know we don't feel like it's like, I'm not supposed to be a circle. What happened? And you can feel it, but everything around you is like, no, we're circles. Like, this is what we do. And so then you're confused. So then maybe you kind of dabble in, you know, what triangles do, or a rhombus even explores, but try to stay back, but you're in the Circleville. And so until you kind of come out of that and identify or even find your ALIKes, you know, it's like, well, no, we rhombus. So actually, maybe we're shapeshifters. Like, we're none of these. And we're all of these, all at the same dang time. Then you can get to that aha. So they just lied to me, Jack. Like, I'm not a circle. I'm whatever I need to be in the moment, or whatever I'm charged to be. So
How many things do you have though?
How many things? A
You mean
lot.
material things? Just things?
Yeah, how many things you got? Like-
Just right here is like about 15. I don't know.
Right? So is it 15? You have more than 15 things? Or
A lot.
like,
It's a lot.
do you know your number? Does anyone know their number of how many things they have?
Hey, I'll throw them things out the window though, just to be clear.
One.
I'm not beholden. I'm not beholden to these. I'm not covetous of these things. Right? No, we don't know, and
That's why you lose the levity.
Because those become
things weigh us down.
mhm. Those become
And you got so many things weighing you down, you don't even know what's weighing you down because you don't even know what you have. You couldn't even give me a number. That's how many things you have. So right now, if someone said, pick up your net, come with me and be a fisher of men,
Right.
you'd be like, hold up, I got a pack. How many boxes do you need?
And I don't even got a net. In all those boxes I'm a pack, ain't no net.
And you buy a net.
No man fishing.
Right. You see what I'm saying?
Gotta go buy that.
That's the difference with children. Children don't have anything.
Right.
And the things that they do have, they treat so poorly, showing you that
They don't need them.
I don't care nothing about this. These new jeans, school, what slide on the grass. You know what I mean? Like, and that's what keeps them light until we start telling them what they have, what they need to take care of. You know, because they don't you want it to last?
Yeah.
You know, and you start piling that on and that on and that on, and then eventually levity is completely gone because now they have to shoulder the gravity and the weight of all of those things. It would be such a blessing to be able to say, I have 100 things or I have 50 things, and that's my number. Maybe that's a lifelong number. I'm never going to have more than 50 things. Yeah, I know everybody quiet.
Yeah, I'm like,
I mean,
It's like, what would my number be? That's what I was thinking. Like, okay, what would a realistic number be?
right. I'm like, that's easy to say. Like, I can get rid of the things, but it's like, can you get rid of the things? Like, I think
you got to know what things you got. I bet you don't even.
Versus what you need.
You know how when you don't know how much you got, when you have to pack and you have to move those things, then you realize how much stuff you got. And it's like, why do I have this? How much stuff came with me in a move that didn't need to come?
Which one?
How much stuff did I get rid of?
How many towels do you have?
4.
Can't actually count those.
I only know that
He's
because
like-
I left, and I left. And
He's like, I got to put a hotel.
And I had to go get a couple of them because they had some family come out. So I'm like, I have 4 towels.
One for you.
The only reason and 2
Don't
more
lose it.
bags.
But that makes it easy, though. Look at that. Like,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah,
As
that's
opposed
So that
to
alone,
changing
right?
clothes for every season. Man.
I got a bunch of towels. I got one face, one body, you know, one wherever, you know, because some people draw for 3 towels. You know what I mean? They like to do the nether regions with 1 towel. You know what I mean? But
Face. Yeah.
yeah, I know, Zach. I'm like, if it's all clean properly, you can use one joint. You know, I'm with you. You know what I'm saying? But you know, so it's for the females, I understand. You know what I'm saying? But the point is, it's like, why would you need more than enough towels for 1 session?
Well,
You're
right.
supposed
I'm
to
like,
have
well,
a
there's
walk-in
company,
closet.
there's decor, there's
How often do you entertain company?
a couple of times a month.
We can tell them suckers to bring their own towels.
Oh my.
That's what I would do. Hey man, bring your own sheets and towels.
We ain't got none of that here.
I have actually asked people to do that. Well, can you bring your own sheets? I ain't got no washing.
Well, that's a different story.
I do it all the time, man. You know what I mean? Like, yo, I got mad laundry on the bed, so you ain't sleeping on the bed. So bring enough comfort to sleep on the
Nice.
floor. I ain't taking my laundry off the bed. You know? So I'm just saying, like, it's just a small example. You know what I mean? I'm just using towels. But I'm sure we could go through like, how many forks do you own? Like, how, you know, how many plates do you own? You know, and it just kind of gives you an idea. That's just like a simple thing. We didn't get to jewelry, shoes. You know what I'm saying? We have a lot of stuff, and all of this stuff makes us more and more human. So even when we start to like, even Yakira Eden spoke about that blissful state. When we start to go into that blissful state, we're going to be snatched back by the responsibility of what we own. I promise you, there's going to be, oh, did I leave the stove on? Oh, did I, you know, I got to go turn the house lights on. Oh, did I leave the door open? You know, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So that's always going to snatch us out of our supposed levity that we could have had.
Right.
Yeah.
I
So
even
this makes
the bug out bag, you know, because as I was packing the bug out bag, it's like, but I have to have more stuff. I need to put this and put that, and it's like, but we're supposed to be light, you know. The bug out bag is only supposed to be enough for those 3 days to get you to that next location. And I was packing it full of stuff, and I'm like, but I gotta get this, I gotta get that, I gotta have this, I gotta have that, I gotta put like maybe 2 pairs of clothes in, and it's like, the bag is full. Do you have everything that are the necessities, or you have stuff that you just wanted?
And you know what? That's where lived experience comes in, because I had mega heavy bug out bags as well. But then when we brought those bags camping, I actually paid attention to what was used versus what didn't get used at all. And after the first camping retreat, I'd say our new retreat, I came back and revised, because I realized there were certain things that I didn't need, or there were things that someone else had that meant I didn't necessarily have to have that particular thing, but there was something else missing. So I guess, not I guess, it makes sense to know what your things are. Because if I know what I have and we're in community and you know what you have, then collectively we have a sense of what's needed versus what we know for sure is covered. So it speaks to, even that speaks to us a level of levity of the heart, right? Because it's like, all right, we don't have to worry. We know, like we know Aki Zach's coming with 4 towels. You know, like we know we got that at least. It's 4 of us. We got 4 towels. We Gucci. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like going through and refining and revising as we go to get lighter.
Mm-hmm.
But even if you let's say you didn't use it, I think this is where some might get stuck. Like if I don't use a first aid kit, does that mean that I take it out? Because
Well, no.
ultimately there's gonna, but that's what I'm saying though. Like, so the stuff that I take out, there may be a time because I didn't use it on this one, I may need to use it further down the road. So now the calculation, how do I calculate that of what do I take out and what do I take in? Because I may need this.
Well, let me preface by I am a chronic overpacker
Yeah.
and came to the first retreat with maybe about 7 bags just for myself and my youth. So when I say like pare it back, it was, my heart was heavy, and so were my bags. I thought I needed everything. So I think not first aid kits, right? But there was a lot of unnecessary items.
You know, maybe like that's that whole mentality we come with when we're trying to like get rid of stuff. But I may need this down the road,
Right.
and then we get pulled into that hoarding. I'm definitely guilty of that. Pulled into, but I may need this. So then you have all this stuff that you don't need weighing you down, and then when it's time to go someplace else, it's like, why do I still have it? You haven't used it in years. You can get rid of it, but I may need it, right? So like, you know, it's like having to make sure you have that time to go through, lighten up, you know, get all these things out so you can lighten up, you know, because if it hits the fan, you got to leave it anyway. You got to leave it.
I think also, you know, to Aki Zach's like statement on like, you know, should I bring a first aid kit or whatever? You also got to know yourself. You know, like I don't really run with a first aid kit unless I like when I go hiking with my youth, then yeah, there's always a first aid kit. But for me personally, I'll always keep a bottle of alcohol with me pretty much at all times, and duct tape. And honestly, what's going to happen to me that I could fix myself that's going to require anything beyond that?
That's rugged. That's rugged.
It is.
Yeah, but
Well, you know what?
That's your assessment, right?
I have used it
Throwing
before.
myself back together.
Yeah. No,
I have used it before. You know what I mean? I've been cut and stuff like that. Alcohol, put some duct tape on it, work it out later. You know what I'm saying? So if I'm with someone may be like, oh, but I want the Afro-American band-aids, that match my skin tone and all. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I'm like, yo, I could use this duct tape for a lot of different things. You know what I'm saying? I can use the alcohol for a lot of different things. So I think it comes down to also kind of knowing yourself, and the more you involve yourself, like, you'll know what you need. It's kind of like what Yakira Eden just said. Like, when we did this, I saw what we needed, right? So one of the things that I used to do, where I haven't done it in probably about a year and a half ago. I used to always go into the woods with nothing, right? And just a knife, and see how long I could stay, right? Sometimes I'd be out there 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, whatever. And I mean, just go up into like a national park, just park the car and just walk, right? But doing that, and I've been doing that for years, started to let me see, like, okay, I need this, I need that, I need that. Like, yeah, the rubbing the sticks together, I'm not that nice with the fire. I need a lighter, at least a book of matches. Once I got fire, I can carry fire. I know how to move embers around. But I think in order for you to understand what it is that you may need or not need, you have to engage life at the levels, sometimes at extreme levels, and then sometimes at more, moderate levels. And that kind of lets you know, I'm the type of person who needs this, that, and that. You know what I mean? But if you just sitting back theorizing, because like, yeah, you might look at a first aid kit and like, I don't need all of this. That's just the reality. Like, if I'm with a group, it may help. But again, alcohol, duct tape. You know what I mean? I remember when the pandemic first hit and they were like, yo, toilet paper, toilet paper. Yeah, I got a couple of bulk things of toilet paper. But then I was just like, I could just cut up some old cotton shirts and wipe myself with that and then go wash them joints. You know what I'm saying? Or like, and I know y'all might be like, hell, but I don't care.
I was just thinking, like, why you just get in the shower?
They got pesticides in your booty.
Yeah.
Right.
Good point. Good point, brother. You're right. But the pesticide, they kill bacteria. It's the sides.
That's a win-win. That's a win-win right there.
So, but this is what I'm saying. Like, once you kind of know yourself, I know I'm a dude who'll do that all day, every day. I'll find certain leaves in wilderness, and like, that will be my toilet paper. So I didn't have to go crazy, or like when everybody's like, yo, you got to stock up on water. I'm like, as long as the faucet works, I don't have to go crazy with water. Like, yeah, it's not the best water, but it will keep me alive. If we get to the point where it's like, I'm in my last bottle of water, just drink out of the freaking faucet. You know what I mean? Like, don't die because it's got fluoride in it. You know what I'm saying? So I think when you start to kind of run through those exercises, I think a great exercise for people to do, I always, suggested camp out in the backyard. You do stuff like that. Yeah, which I had Yakira Eden do, so she knows, and she lasted. What are you doing?
That was my extra night that I went fleeing from the bushes. That was my extra.
She thought somebody was.
I made it like 3 nights. On my 4th night, I thought somebody was out there I thought they peeped my whole setup, and it was like,
I remember out here. Yeah, it was probably indeed.
Yeah,
this is what I'm saying. Like, once you start getting into those things, another really good exercise, you want to know what you need and what you don't need, take a road trip and sleep in your car. Don't get a hotel. that teaches you a lot. You know, like even if you want to rent a minivan, if you want to like, you know, hook it up a little bit, whatever. But sleep in your car. You might get yourself like a twin piece, like a piece of foam to lay on if you want, or a sleeping bag or whatever. And that will give you a sense of what you really need, because you'll find that doing things like even when you're camping, what's the big deal about camping? The big deal about camping is that I don't have all my stuff. That's why camping is so fun.
The bathroom.
You know, even if you rugged camp and don't have a bathroom, you get used to it. After a day, you like, all right, dig a hole, poop, wipe, done. You know, cover it back up. You know what I'm saying? So it's like the thing about it is that the less you have, the more you'll find yourself enjoying yourself. Because what is camping really? We get these things that are basically made of umbrellas, and we lay on the ground and we start fires, and we just had the time of our lives. Why? Because we don't have the weight of all these other things to be responsible for. So one of the things that you could do is just go on a road trip, sleep in your car, you know, and you'll get a sense of how much water you need. You know, you could even take a little hibachi grill, you know, if you want. I got to cook in the parking lot. You know what I mean? I don't have 5 million spices. I'm just going to pack salt and pepper, you know, like whatever it is. And that will help you to see like, wow, this is really possible. I don't need 10 million emergency items. Also, because most of the time the stuff that you need, you could just go buy if you really need it. Like if you need it later, you could go buy it. You know, or if it's a tool for you brothers, and not to say that some women don't use tools, Home Depot and Lowe's rents tools. You know, like you can rent anything. You can rent a drill. You can rent anything. You can rent floor sanders. You can, you know, you can rent saws, so that you don't actually have to hold them yourself and just give them back. You know, and it's not expensive to rent tools at all. It's pretty cheap. You know.
And with that, I'm thinking about even like consumerism and how many things we purpose that we've actually already thrown away because we're told it's trash. And I know you touched on a few of those in your last segment. It's like how many jars that are glass, you know, do we dispose of because it's like, oh yeah, the tomato sauce is finished out of the jar, but then you go buy plastic containers to store your food items in or your juice in, and then you're getting all of the toxins that are, you know, that's within the plastic. So it's like
Well,
making.
how many pairs of glasses have y'all ran through since y'all were little girls? And that plastic, you know what I'm saying? I'm just saying, the plastic is killing the sharks in the ocean.
I don't know.
What? I need to see now.
It's something to
I
think
need to see.
You know, that even makes me think of though when you was talking about the interdimensional contracts and the contracts that we make now. It makes me think of movies.
Which one?
The Lion King. Thank you very much.
Oh, okay.
The Lion King.
It was 50-50.
And just the contracts that one made, even thinking of when Simba was sitting with Timon and Pumbaa and they were looking at the stars. And when it was like, and all of them had different views of what they were looking at. And, you know, he's like, oh, it's just a bunch of fireflies, man. And then he's like, oh, I thought it was just balls of gas burning millions of miles away. And then he was like, oh, no, that's, you know, well, I was told that that was my ancestors, and I can now rely on, you know, the ways of the kings that came before me. And then all of them started laughing at him, right? And now, now he makes a contract that somebody maybe told you where you came from, or maybe now and I think this goes back to even, you know, you can go and do something what one would perceive to be bad, or one can go and do what perceives to be good. But it will behoove certain people to get you out of what you should be doing and make contracts with being a consumer, or make contracts with science and, you know, cold hard facts. And what Chief built on one time was being the fisher of men, and fish can only breathe underwater, so they're only dealing with the cold hard facts. And that's just balls of gas, right? But then there's something that's in someone that was like, hold on, there's more to this. hold on, I know something that's in me that I was told that there's more to what I'm looking at than what everybody else is telling around me. But if I make these contracts with these people, if I make these contracts with what somebody else has told me, then ultimately it would keep Scar in power, right? It would keep the darkness around, because ultimately it would, now I won't challenge the throne. I won't challenge and actually come in and say, hold on now, you're not the real Hebrew. You're not the real this. I am. Then if I stand up, then hold on, now you hyenas and you jackals and you all have to go scrambling. So it would behoove somebody to make sure that I'm using plastic, or make sure I'm storing in, or make sure that I'm just consuming, or make sure that I'm hoarding, because now I have too many things that now I can't put my attention and my focus on what I should be doing. But now I'm more so earthbound, and I can't levitate and up into what I'm supposed my true power.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You also, in that sense, your role is being perverted. Like if you were told, if you were given the earth as far as stewardship, and someone is giving you a culture, then that person is already anti-nature anyway, and they're giving you a culture that causes you to harm what you're supposed to be a steward over. Then in effect they've usurped your position, and that's typically the goal of an anti-deity, is to reverse the work of the deity.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm using, I mean, it's plastic. I mean, you could go through a bunch of different things, obviously, but ultimately it's to keep you away from doing what you're supposed to do. Like, don't learn how to interact with the animals. Don't learn how to interact with the seasons and the earth, because what I'm trying to do is keep you in the space of the curse.
Mm-hmm.
Like when he told Adoma, he was like, yo, by the sweat of your brow, you'll eat bread, and the earth will yield nothing to you. What he's basically just saying is, like, you're going to be out of rhythm. Like, your rhythm's going to be off.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to be able to clock the seasons anymore. So you're going to be planting the wrong thing in the wrong place at the wrong time, which is why we have the divorce rate that we do.
It's
That's
So
what it made me.
it's like, I'm gonna put you in all. Here's all the systems that I want to give you, and you're gonna go through all these systems. Stand on this line, or this line, and this is the only selection that you have. And then I'm gonna give you all this extra stuff to keep you preoccupied. And then, like, instead of going with nature and knowing how it is to be with animals, I'm gonna show you how I do it, so that when you see it, you think it's something fantastical to look at. And you come to my Cirque du Soleil, you come to my circus, you see my Sigmund and Freud. Don't matter that the tiger attacked because it wasn't supposed to be there. You still like it, and this is what you're gonna do.
Yeah. And it makes me think of, you touched on it at the end with the divorce rates. The whole time you were speaking, I'm like, right, we're not cultivated on how to connect with our divine and right mate from the very beginning. There are a set of expectations that speak to going to school and being educated and choosing a career, and what do you want to be? What do you want to be? What do you want to do? But the option is never, I want to be a mother and a wife, and and I want to do these things. That's often not how we are reared. But I will say, growing up in Crown Heights, I witnessed something very different happening on my block, right? Now, I can't even say around the corner. It was clear, whether I understood the culture back then or not, that the little girls who were the same age as myself, when I could see when they clearly transitioned to womanhood, and when they were down the block and clearly made it to someone, like, and then pregnant and pushing a baby carriage. You could see that there was an expectation and a rhythm that was very different than the one that I'll say we were being pushed towards at that time. And then, yeah, it just leads to inability to connect, and no commitment to even being mated. There go the divorce rate being so high.
Oh, at the time, you don't know how. We don't know how.
well,
That even goes back. Oh, go ahead.
no, go ahead, brother. You got it.
Take myself back off mute then. All right, thank you. I appreciate that. It made me think of, even though, and there was I don't remember what show. These shows blend together So there was one of them though. He said, you know, if you don't want, and it only just made me think of this because Koti Yafe, you just said about the circus, and it was like, if you don't want to hang out with clowns and be a part of the circus, then don't buy a ticket. But the ticket looks so appeasing and enticing, and you know, but I'm supposed to, you know, be with the three ring circus, and I'm supposed to have this, and and it looks so nice, and then wondering why so many people run into what that midlife crisis of, this ain't it. I got the house, I got the car, I got the children, I got the wife, I got this and I got that, but this ain't it, right? And now, yeah, because you're now a part of the circus, you're now in it, and now I'm heavy because of what Chief was just saying. How many things do you have? I've acquired all of these things, and I've acquired all these degrees, and I've acquired all of this, but I just feel like this ain't. I'm heavy. Like something is weighing me down now. And when you're a part of the circus, and now when one is a part of the circus, how do you get out? There's a way out, but now you have to crawl through sewage, because there's a lot of stuff that you done, traps that you have set for yourself. That, are you willing to let go of that in order to now get to where you want to, or maybe even should be? I can't say should, where you would like to be. And that's where the problem comes in, is now I'm not going back here. How can I now how can I just take me, I know I have a headache. I don't want to look at what possibly caused the headache. Just give me some Tylenol. Just give me something. Just do something like old girl in mustard ball. Just do something to make me feel good, to take away the pain now. So now I turn to certain weed, or I turn to a drink, or I turn to, you know, certain things, chronic things that make me now just lighten myself, where I can lighten my load for the second, but then now all of a sudden it comes back. So now I become addicted to these things because I want to take myself out of that certain reality that I created, and that the choices that I've made. I can't blame anybody else at a certain point, because it's now like, no, I made these choices, and now if I put and it goes back into, if I put myself in it, then this is how I'm going to get myself out of it. But again, that's where that accountability piece comes in, so you can lighten yourself in order to have that levity of the heart.
Yeah, you know what? Also, I would say, Aki Zach, a lot of it is in the blood too. You know, like some of that escapism is just a product of weak spirit and weak character. You know what I mean? So it's like, and I don't mean to be offensive to anyone listening who feels like, well, I've had addictions or this or that, you know, because, you know, people get caught up, and we all have different sorts of addictions. Every single one of us. Usually we have multiple addictions, you know, but at the same time, some of us have a drive in us where we're just not having it, you know, and it's just, that causes us to push beyond some of those traps, because we see the trap, you know, it's like in the Matrix.
You don't say.
Come on, Chief. Let's go.
At this point, I feel like I'm not even quoting the Matrix. I'm quoting you.
Right. As Zach has said.
Like Brother Zach always says, you know, but it's the steak reference. Like, yeah, I know it's not real. Put me back, because I have weakness of character. Whereas, like, when they're eating at the table, and Mouse is like, yeah, it's a protein that I synthesized, and he's just like, it was disgusting. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, but it's what you need. He's like, it has everything you need, but maybe not what you want. So I think at the same time, some people have a warrior spirit in them, and they're born with that. And when you have that, there's certain things you just will not accept. You know, like, I'm a born alpha. I've always been an alpha. You know, so as a result, I had my first business when I was 11. You know, and I remember being in high school, and all my friends were getting their little job. You know, around 14, get your working papers, and me asking my friends, yo, so how much they paid? Like, you know, I don't even want to say the numbers because it wouldn't make sense. You talk about back then, but I'll just say I remember one of my friends worked at CVS, and he was like, yeah, you know, I bring home about $25 at the end of it. I was like, what? $25? I was like, are you crazy? He was like, yeah, I work part-time. I was like, yo, but you got to get on the bus and you got to check for $25. Like, and I remember cracking on him like, what, you on child support? Like, I was like, and we were like in 10th grade. And I just remember being like, heck no. I didn't say that, but, I was like, no, not for me, and I started cutting hair, and was making a whole lot more than that, an hour. So, when you have that spirit in you, it transcends to other things. Mm-hmm. And you may not know how to channel it or realize what you're seeing. You know what I mean? Like, you may not realize, like, oh, that's alpha energy. Like, yeah, you don't work for people. You always had your own business, mm-hmm. so forth and so on. Like, but you only maybe think it just means you don't like to work for people. You may not realize it's because something else was implanted in you, and it's so much bigger than that. Like when you talk about football, a lot of times you're like, yeah, it's not what people think it is. And there's other options, other things you can do. I had a friend like that years ago in the music industry. She used to sing backup for Mariah Carey, and she's a chef now. And I remember we were in the studio with someone. I'm not gonna mention the guy's name because he's still out there trying to make it. But basically, he was trying to make a comeback, right? And I'm working on the track, and we're doing this stuff. And he had left to go do something, and she's just like, you can do other things. Basically just like this other life is bigger than this. And at the time she was actually in school, culinary school, actually. So, before she even really blew up, now she's doing really good with it. But that was like, it's this very simple statement, but it's like, and I said to her, I was like, you can do other things. Because you can see other things. This dude, the guy, he was like, his group was extremely big back in the days, and he was a sex symbol. So he's still he's stuck on that. Now he trains dogs now. Actually, he's doing something completely different, but he's still well known. But the point I'm saying is that there's sometimes certain things that are implanted in us that we take for granted. And we have to pay attention to what those things, sometimes you got to do the documentary of your life. Mm-hmm. And you look at, like, when did I start thinking this particular way? And some things may be because of environment. I was like that, or because this tragedy happened, I was like that. But there are some things, there are core characteristics that do not change. They don't change. And a lot of times it's our elders that will pull you on those core characteristics that you may not even realize. I remember years ago going back to my old neighborhood and, you catching up with you. So what you up to? I do this. And I remember brothers like, well, you was always smart. So I could, and I'm like, I was smart? I didn't know I was smart. Like, yeah, you was always on some other stuff. I thought I was just like y'all. Nah. So it's like, that's the thing. It's like those core characteristics are there. And it's the sooner you can recognize those, the sooner you'll start to realize, like, that purpose and where you pull from to get that drive. Because the world can't give you those core characteristics. So like you said, like, yeah, you may fall for this. I want that. I want that. I want that. I want that. But even within that, those core characteristics, they don't get shaken. That's, I don't like coconut custard. See what I'm saying? I never liked coconut custard. And I done made all kind of money. You see what I'm saying? And I still don't like coconut custard. It's gross. So there's certain core characteristics that I'm just saying, man, everybody got their thing.
I'm with you. I don't like that
see?
either. It's
You
just,
see what I'm saying? That's because we both Hebrews. Hebrews.
You tried.
It's that coconut custard.
It's a great thing. It's in the book of Niconometry. But the thing I'm saying is like, so that's what I'm just saying, man. You got to pay attention to those core characteristics, and then look at how those core characteristics translate into your warrior drive. Mm-hmm. because we all have to be warriors, because we're warring beyond that programming that you spoke of. And what you have to stand on is that original design, that original first foundational, those characteristics, because those characteristics are going to be what your salvation at some point, you know.
And it would seem like that once you recognize and know what those core characteristics are, then you would also begin to identify what your food is or what your fuel is, like what you need to plug into in order to kind of maintain that. Especially since it sounds like what you're describing would be more rare. So there will be less opportunity to just readily find supports for it, you know, particularly if you are being pushed towards going to school and, you know, carrying this box and living within a particular box.
Maybe. It's usually a stripping, because we're saying core. So how do I get to the core? I got to push past things that are covering the core. You know, so it may not need support. It just may need clearing.
Okay.
You see, because sometimes the things that we put in the way are, you know, you think about children, like they want to eat a certain way. And a lot of times they know what to eat. You know, they know. And we put stuff in front of them like, well, you got to have this, you got to have that. And then 2 years later, there's a news report, you know, such and such is toxic. Oh, well, we're not eating that anymore. You know, I remember as a child, like eggs, throwing up over the eggs. Eat your eggs. It's so nasty. And they stink and they, you know, and I know what they are. You know what I'm saying? I know how babies are made. I know what these things are. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yep.
I remember getting hit, you know, popped in the back of the head, and over the plate crying and eating cold eggs.
Cold chicken babies.
Yeah, you know, but now we know, oh, you shouldn't be eating eggs like that. Cholesterol and you know what I mean? So a lot of times, you know, we just have to strip away as opposed to looking for that support. The support is already there because it was given to us by spirit. It's like Torah. You know, the Most High supports your core characteristics. You know, it's your flesh, which is the disobedient part, which is all the program. I got to go to school. I got to go do this. I got to go do that. That's the part that has to be starved out. And that's why I say even sometimes getting into a car and like, I'm going to sleep in this car for 7 days. That's a stripping. Yeah, I know. Can't do that. I got leather seats. It's hot.
How should this, like, the sisters need a?
That was my. I was like, how does that happen?
Not really, because the sisters just need to do what they told to do. If a man comes to the house and says, man, give it all these towels and shoes.
Okay.
Yeah, see,
Yes.
You hear the whisper?
Yes. Yes.
Let me say my goodbyes. 1 second.
Like, wait, let's.
Hold on, can we talk about this now? I'll get rid of the glasses.
Like one pair of glasses.
Same shop. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Like, it's different because the men have to be those Ogun energies, and that's probably maybe one of the hardest things because we're told we can't even. I'm just saying, like, from the world's perspective. Men are told like we can't take you on a date unless we spend a certain amount. You know, if you want to be dumb enough to take a woman on a date, you know. So let me just put that out there. You know, here we go.
He's like guilty.
I know Ben told you. I know you know better. We done been at this.
Hey. Just in case it ever comes back to me.
Don't take no woman on no freaking date. I told you, first of all, the first day you meet is the date. That's and then if y'all say we're gonna talk on the phone tonight, that's date number 2. We dating, that's it. I ain't gotta do nothing after that. Don't take no woman on no freaking date. Any woman with sense in her mind doesn't want to go on a date. So the women that you would take on a date ain't worth dating. I promise you, they're not even worth dating, as you know, because there's nothing that comes out. There's nothing fruitful that comes out of that. And even the thing that you might want to come out of it, you don't need the date to get that thing, because she's not worth anything. You see what I'm saying? So we're told all these different things. You know, you got to get your hair cut, you got to get your car right, you got to get your shoe game right, you got to and then take her out on a date. You got to spend at least $300. So that's a part of the challenge. I think is more on men, because we're taught that we have to bring so many resources in order to interact. And if we choose not to, we stingy, we broke, we this or whatever stupid thing. But those are only the words of Babylonian whores. So sometimes you have to, it goes back to core characteristics again. Like, you have to strip away, because the ones who say stupid stuff like that are the ones who have a lot of layers around them. Layers of makeup, layers of fake hair, layers of fake booty, just layers of fake nails, layers of just fake everything. The ones who don't have all that, who usually are going to be worth more, they're not even stressing on it. You be like, yo, what time you get off work? I'm walking home from work. Oh, that'd be nice. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not that deep, man. So I would say a lot of it is on the men, in terms of that, being courageous and bold enough to tell the women that you interact with, like, look, we're going to live in a travel trailer. You still like me? Or I'm in the process of building a cabin. Ooh, that sounds, how big is it? Oh, it's just about 500 square feet. 500 square feet. Where's my mother going to stay when she visits? Oh, she's staying in a tent outside. next to the outhouse. She got to go to the bathroom at night.
That's convenient.
But honestly, that's, you'll see, because we have so many calamities on the way, so many economic disasters that are on the forefront. You're going to be there anyway. So you might as well learn how to, just like when the crash of 2008 came, how many people went into foreclosure and was like, all the extra stuff they had to get rid of. Yeah. Maybe you got to move back in with your parents or whatever, but everybody downsized and bought Kindles. That's when Kindle was popping, because it was like, I don't have a library anymore, but I got my Kindle, and now you like Kindle, and everything. Oh, your big screen TV. Oh, I sold that on Craigslist, so you're heading there anyway.
Well,
that makes me think of the segment though too that you did about intuition and instinct, and how one's intuition is based on information, and where a child maybe is like, nah, I don't want to eat that liver, and then somebody then comes back and gives them information of saying, well, hold on now, it has this property in it, and it has this, and you need omegas or whatever the case may be. So now all of a sudden your intuition starts to become compromised by the information that one is given. So now even when we get older and we say, oh, it's my intuition. Well, is it your intuition, or is it the information that somebody gave you that now you say, this is what I should be doing. This is what I need in my life. Right. And can one now go back and say, yeah, you know what, I was given some bad information. And in order for me to now, strengthen my intuition, and well, then now let me challenge some of these points that were given to me that I maybe consciously or unconsciously just accepted.
And it's being in tune with yourself too. Like, you've heard me say it 100 times, like, look at your life. When, like, even in I knew, when people start to riff, and I don't like how you said this, Chief, or you that, I hear you. Look at your life first, though, before you start talking. Because you've been listening to yourself all this time, or listening to this idiot or that idiot. What has the end product been? It's simple mathematics. So sometimes it's just a issue of just simple mathematics. When I was young, and sometimes it flares up now, I was allergic to strawberries. Right? But who doesn't love strawberries? But eat strawberries, I break out in hives. My mother saw it, like, all right, he can't have strawberries anymore. Simple mathematics. So sometimes you have to look at, even though this thing may be good or whatever, or we're told that it's good, what has the outcome been? You know, and it's just that simple. When we get older, that's actually how we start thinking. That wisdom kicks in. You know, that the doctor will be telling Nana or Grandpa they got to do this and they got to do that, and Grandpa like, I ain't got to do all that. I know how my body. I know my body. I know how I feel. I need this and I need that. You know, go make me some of this. Go make me some cabbage soup. That's the issue. I don't need this, that. You know what I mean? So it also comes down to knowledge of self, and knowledge of self is a mathematical principle. You know, before you even say, well, let me pick apart the information. No, let's go deeper into the information. I want to find out the source code of that information. I want to know who the programmer was.
Mm-hmm.
Who told me to eat coagulated blood and told me that's good for me? Like who, you know, and then if you grew up Christian, weren't you told not to eat blood?
Not unless the preacher said it from the pulpit. Because who's really cracking the Bible open reading it?
That's what I'm saying. So I want to look at, I want to explore some of that. Let's look at the source, and then let's find out. You tell me, okay, I need to go to a good HBCU. These are CIA schools. Let me study the origin of HBCUs. And I find out, oh, this was to create servant classes out of quote unquote mulattoes. At that time, these were schools for mulattoes, for the bastard children of these slave makers. That's where I'm supposed to go to school. Well, the people who are running, why don't I go to school where the people who are running the world go? Wouldn't that make more sense? Oh, but if I go there, then I'm a sellout. Ah, man, this is confusing. Mm-hmm. So I got to go to a slave school to be accepted. But if I go to a school for masters, the master's school, you know, then I'm a sellout. Like I would say, examine the source code.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
a lot of times the one gave us something different were our own parents. They didn't know. I was fed liver, and it was disgusting. I knew it from day one, but this is disgusting.
One of y'all like it because everybody's head ain't nodding.
I never had it, so I don't even know. I just know the smell.
You were spoiled. That's why he's like, I ain't touching.
Yeah, I wasn't head nodding because I'm like, yeah, my older cousins, they were forced, but I was one of the youngers. We were not forced, but the smell was disgusting.
I feel like most of us were forced to eat it. Nobody really wants to eat that.
I know people who like liver because I always thought it was disgusting, but it sometimes it would trick you up though, because once they smother it with the gravy and the onions, you'd be like, oh, all right, maybe that's okay. It's looking good. And then you take that first bite. Yeah. What the hell is this? You got me. You got me.
Like mush.
It's mealy, right?
It's blood.
It look right.
It's just blood. You know, when I started doing ebos, that's when I really gained a different relationship with liver. You know, because when you're working with blood, especially if you're doing a long ceremony and you pour that blood out and it sits, it turns to liver. And you're like, oh, this is what that stuff is. No wonder I didn't, you know, I hated it and wouldn't need it as a child. That was always I'll catch the beating. I used to get the easy pass on that because it's just like he'd just rather take the beating. We can get him on the egg, but we, you know.
The chat is busy. Stop.
Yeah, you've been ignoring the chat, and I wanted to say
they got to come on.
Right, I'm like, this is a different midday affirmation.
I'm looking at the chat right here. Top tier speakers, as those with our new genetics, the wisest of us have the sacred gift of extrapolation. This gift is bestowed for those who Yah has chosen to restore the first priesthood order, our new way. Tell me you can't see no chat.
No, I can see it. I can see it. She also said she's definitely a minimalist at heart and would love to live in a tiny home with you, and they could travel and sleep anywhere. You know, I said I could live in a tiny home too, but it's always those ones that they hook up, like Pimp My
Who said that they were going to a tiny home?
Tiny home, top tier speakers. She would love to live in a tiny home.
No, she wouldn't, because when they was at the tiny home at the retreat. She kept walking outside and going to the gazebo. She couldn't be in there longer than 5 minutes.
We were in a tiny house, come and think of it.
Yeah. She don't want to be in no tiny home.
It was a tiny home. As far as like not getting the pesticides in your booty, she said you could do it with the cloth diapers that they use for babies.
Yeah, that's true.
I would say just use water. Wash it with water.
I've only ever used cloth diapers on my children.
To the water, to the fountain.
The water? We talking about? You saying let the babies poop in the fountain? Water fountain?
No, she.
No.
She from New Jersey. That's
Don't even start.
some New Jersey sewage treatment.
Don't even start.
Oh, man.
You said something. I know it was something about poop in the fountain.
That's not what I
You
said.
talking about at the mall, at the wishing well.
That's not what I said. Sovereignty says that takes me back to your point, Chief, about the Levites, as their warrior nature led them to be given the priesthood. They needed that in order to redeem themselves. So more balanced them, more so balance them with the nation of Israel. Yeah. And there's a lot of laughing. Sovereignty also said, they make those institutions so expensive, it locks out some of those with an economic bracket, right? And then they say, oh, you can be like super smart to come here. Instead, like you can go to the community school or go to the school that was made for the servant class. Liver and onions with rice and gravy served with spinach, leftovers with the grease. Gross. Yes, a lot of people was fed liver. Side-eyed liver and the mangoes for lunch every time. Liver and mangoes?
What?
That don't even sound like a good combination.
That's nasty,
I
man.
was like, what? In the same lunchbox, like.
Ew, man. That sounds like a spell. That's like some Harry Potter, the bubble guts. Bubble gutticus, Draconis. Freaking
Rise
nasty.
up, right?
Sovereignty, you may want to explain that one a little bit.
That's why she eats the way she eats. That she eat raw food.
Oh
now.
no! Oh, I see what she's saying. She's saying she side-eyed the liver and ate the mangoes for lunch. Dead every time. You gotta fill in the blanks, man. Come on.
Okay, all right. That's where you need punctuation.
It wasn't liver and mangoes in the lunchbox. What?
No, the punctuating.
That made my statement properly. Okay, so sorry.
You didn't type it properly.
No, she said, I side-eyed liver and ate mangoes for lunch.
Yeah, she did say it. Yeah.
That give you
too,
though.
That would have been corrected if you had come on and shared that live. Akoti. Master Menelik. Peace, Master Menelik. Welcome. He walked in on
liver and mangoes.
Talk about natural laxity. Right, Mom. Nobody's eating liver and mangoes.
That's the wine flavor. We talking about wine flavor.
Wine flavors. At one point,
mango and liver mead.
My pick was plums, so we'll see. I guess whatever the fruit is going to be. Okay, well,
the speaker says she wants to live in a tiny home with the youth. So
you have a mate.
I guess Ross will live where?
Right, you have a mate, top tier, right?
Tiny home next to you, or?
Top tier, where you at? Top tier, play yourself.
Yeah, you can let that fly. I think he might have a vote. He might want to cast that one. I don't know that man want to live in a tiny home.
We know
your children are rambunctious. They destroy that thing within 2 days. Yeah, y'all might need a shipping container, something made out of steel.
But it would be a shipping container.
Yeah.
Just because of them children, they rough. They're rough on stuff. You need something industrial grade.
He says sleeping in the semi. Like, y'all go over there. You're over here.
The cabs, don't they have beds? Some of them.
They do. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how y'all got from Levity to this.
I don't know what kind of top tier speakers that she would live in a tiny home. We were talking about all the
blood coagulation.
And then we were talking about Right, the blood and it all yep. Being light.
In the words of the chief, the wise chief, he was talking about blood coagulation, livers, getting whoopings, and
I ain't got
then
nothing to do with it. Mm-mm.
I mean, but the coagulations keeps us, stuck and stuck
right.
to, and not like light like we should be.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, right? When you think of just the anatomy of the heart, it's like when you have that blood coagulation, those are the blood
See how
clots.
they be making up stuff, Zach?
Those are the blood clots. No,
See, you hear this,
it's
right?
blood clots. We know that.
When she said,
Not
if
just
you think
the
about it, I
colloquial.
was like, here we go.
Yeah, once they say think about it, it's like you're already all right. BS
Chopping through that
alert.
thing. Chopping
Yeah,
through that.
'cause
It is. Blood clots is coagulated blood.
yeah.
Come on.
Yeah,
knows
that's
it?
but that has nothing to do with what we're talking about though.
It creates. Okay. I'll go no further.
Well,
See, Zach, that's all you gotta do. Because that's what women do. You see how they do that? Instead of just conceding, they'll just start this string of nonsensical words. They
Veins
just
and
bring
arteries.
definitions together. You should start talking patois. The blood clot. The blood clot. I know what you were saying. You thought it didn't pass me. I heard.
I was waiting for you to call it out. He's like, okay, now he's gonna catch me for the blood clots.
You all wrong with me? I know
One blood and air likes in this community.
So
Levity with the
Levity,
sandbags on the parachute, brother.
right? Exactly.
on the hot air balloon.
See,
Y'all messed up
why
Sister
nobody else
Diva's
came on here.
presentation.
That's why nobody else
Did
came
it?
on here.
No, they didn't. Not at all. Everything that we discussed was about levity. Like even the blood clots. Like because
Y'all back to that again.
Not me. Let it go, yo. Let it go.
Okay, well, yeah, levity, Latin roots, but also this is where we get, as Chief said, Levites. It's all related. Heart, levity of the heart. It's all related. That's what we're talking about. So the link is in the chat for anybody else who wants to add to the build. If not, there has been so much in the chat. They're not. I reached out to Akoti Maria. You could have clarified your mangoes and live alive.
Right, making some mangoes right now. Get a mango infusion. She laid out with the IV in her arm.
How do we get here? Right. Mm-hmm.
Right. All right. So levity. So
Some of y'all do that with coconuts.
Oh, this guy jokes, yeah. Coconut water has been used.
You pick them yourself. You go the sweet ones at the top of the tree. You go up real high at the top. You get the sweetest ones up there. Coconut pickers.
See, and he's just gonna say it. I was just gonna let it go. Poor Zach's like, what is happening right now?
Actually, I'm looking at an initiate who keeps calling me, who should be on this call. Stop calling me.
Oh, it's probably Ramit.
No, it's the other one.
It's always Ramit.
Uh-oh.
He's the bad one. Oh, but he's in on the call. Okay. So I know who it is.
Got called in. You got tapped. So
that's what happens. But one thing I just wanted to add before y'all yeah, he got tapped. All right. Gang talk. You got to get iced. 1980s gang language. So one of the things that I would just say that as far as levity, very similar to like with children, there's a Hebrew term sayag. And sayag means to fence in. And it was the duty of the Levites or the Levitical priests to fence in the two things. Oh, wow. I'm sorry. It's two. I'm sorry. The green screen is malfunctioning. Sorry. Let me just put it down.
Now we got a market show not for children.
My bad. Yeah, now you got to change the rating. That's at least PG-13, though. right? So but their job was to fence in. This is how you know the Torah was actually also literal. They had to fence in the oral Torah and what was called the standard Torah. So there was this distinction between the Torah that was spoken and the Torah that was written. But the key is, in order to maintain the safety and the levity of it, it had to be fenced in. I think that's something to kind of consider, when you think about like protecting your joy or protecting your spirit, protecting your levity, as opposed to allowing it, just like with children. Children can have fun in the park. You can say, all right, go ahead. When like it's fenced in, you can see everything, everyone's there, whatever. There's a hedge, if you will, that's been put around them in that sense. So your joy has to be protected. And most of the time, unfortunately, I mean, I don't think we protect our physical things as much as we probably should. But usually that's where all the talk is. Oh, get insurance or this or that, get yourself a weapon, whoop-de-whoop, but you have to take that same approach, if not more diligent. It's kind of like with the Sabbath. We were told to guard the Sabbath. That's militaristic terminology, not like make sure you remember it. Even like the communion was like, do this in remembrance of me. Like, all right, well, it's more celebratory. The Sabbath was like guarded. It's that time of rest. So your levity, and I would also add, like, the Levites were also, even though we know that Yehuda was they're the praisers and all the singers and the musicians came out of Yehuda, it was actually the Levites who coordinated music. For some reason, a lot of people don't mention that. I don't know why. They just talk about them like the service that they did in the temple and the tabernacle. But one of their key duties as well was the coordination of music. So they were all about because music was a way to bring levity, obviously. But all of those things that bring you into a more primal, lighter space are things that were supposed to be fenced in.
So in order to maintain the levity, there's a level of protection that we have to give to ourselves.
Yeah, I would say so. But I don't even know if it's to yourself. I would say it's more to that experience.
Okay.
Like, let's just say if, again, take any primal thing. It could be dancing, sewing, cooking, drumming.
Mm-hmm.
If it's understood that, let's say, like when I'm dancing or when I'm drumming, not only am I not to be disturbed, but also maybe this is not something that I let the world see. Maybe this is also not something that I ever explain. It's just what I do. And that's a part of fencing, because what would come in the fence other than the Babylonian mindset? You can make money off it. Why don't you teach dance? Or why don't you go drum over here for this dance troupe? You can go to the schools and do assemblies, and they'll pay you to,
Mm-hmm.
Brother Zach and his amazing drum.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
And it always has to be something that you can profit from, though. It can't be anything. I think you said even in that the educational, and if it's something that can't make a profit, then it has to be thrown out. Like, oh no, you can't do that. You can't explore that.
Yeah,
what you're supposed to do with that?
We have no use for that. But that's even, it goes down to people. If we no longer see you as a part of being productive inside of the industry, we got to figure out a way to kill you quicker.
Mm-hmm.
We got to get you up out of here. I mean, obviously there is a level of scientific tyranny that we're all under now, and especially older people. There's a lot of money made off of medications, so they learn how to profit in that way. But you get a cat like me or my family, our medications have always been food. Go make me a pot of greens. So it's like, oh, they gotta go. Like they got to go. So that's the thing, man. I think, yeah, a lot of it does have to do, it's like Master Mendelek said, it referred to as a waste of talent. right? You could have done something with
Because
that,
you're not making money off of it. That's the tether though. You're
right?
not making money off of it, then it doesn't matter. When if you're just doing it because you like doing it, that's what keeps you. That's where the levitation comes in, because you floating. Because how many? I know when I'm doing something I really like to do, it don't matter. I don't need to make money off of it, because it puts me in a space where it's like, this is awesome. It isn't
Mhm.
what anybody else thinks is irrelevant.
Or there might be a different quality. There might be a different value to it. Like I've been drumming all my life. I grew up on drums, like as a little boy. Like I can't remember when I first touched the drum, right? But I've only drummed. I've only practiced drumming to impress my father and my uncles
Mm.
my entire life. And it was times because we would always jam. Like there's never a time when we got together, like ever, we didn't pull the drums out. Like that was standard play. Like we're either in the garage looking at our motorcycles, looking at what work we're doing, or looking underneath the car, and then we pulling those drums out. And I could always get on a stage and jump on a set of congas or jump on a djembe and get cheers, because I know you could do little tricks to make people like, "Ooh," make you think you did something you didn't really do much. But it was my fathers and my uncles that would know, like, "Oh, your left hand is still weak," or that was off, or your slap isn't sharp. you know no one made any money from that, us being in the basement or us being in the garage or in the backyard making up all this noise. But the quality and the value was to get the nod. I used to love when my pops would be like, like we'd be playing and he'd look over at me and like, okay, I do something. I'd be on cloud nine, but never got a dime for it. So I think that's also a part of it, because that's also very primal too. Like that was our hug. you know, like us all getting together, jamming. You know what I mean, pulling out the timbales, pulling out whatever, and singing.
Yeah.
We go into chants. Now we sing Oye Como Va and different songs like that. You know what I mean? But no, that's not for you. That's no. It's no. Stop.
Yeah,
Carlos
we
said
both
you
know
gotta.
that one, right?
I should have mentioned another one y'all don't know. you know. But the point I'm saying is that there may be great value in what you do, because the fence was, I'm with my babas.
Mm-hmm.
That was our fence. Like, so for me, I could just let loose and be out there sweating and you know what I mean, making mistakes or whatever, and coming back and whatever. So it doesn't necessarily, I just say to say, it doesn't necessarily have to be something you do by yourself for it to be spiritual and blissful.
Mm-hmm.
It may be something that exists within the paradigm. There's a different currency. The currency may not be Babylonian currency. The currency may be something else. To this day, I always keep a drum in my house. Always. If you listen to my music, there's drums all over it. I play those drums, and it's always an homage to my patrilineal elders. Every single time. Every single time. My core instrument is bass. I'm a bass player. you know, but there's always some kind of percussion. If it's not a conga, it's a djembe. If it's not a djembe, it's a cowbell or a triangle. I always have some kind of percussion, because that brings me, if I don't have that, I don't feel excited about the music. Every time I hear a triangle or something, I immediately see my uncle. I see like Baba Abishai with, Niles' grandfather. I see my pops, and you know what I mean? Then when it really used to get heated up, then my moms would come out, be dancing. You know what I mean? So that whole scene is there for me every single time. So
Mm-hmm.
that takes me to childhood. I grew up seeing that scene over and over and over and over again. And that was the scene that was not Chief Yuya, which was a bliss there, because in that scene I was just Seth. you know, or Haru. You know, really, when we all together, we all call each other Baba. You know, but you know, like when I was really Seth is what my family calls me. You know, so there's a levity in that because it's like I don't have to be Chief Yuya. Ain't nobody gonna ask me nothing. You know, I don't have to sit here and diagnose anything. If anything, my uncle is over there looking at me, diagnosing me, most
Mm.
likely. You know, when we finish drumming, hey nephew, come on, let me talk to you. You know, how's everything going, man? How's the children? You know, so there are things that you might do, and I think everybody here has that. That sometimes you sacrifice. I know for a lot of women, sometimes it revolves around the kitchen. You might have memories of, you know, being in the kitchen with your aunties or whatever, and it was a sort of just like you could let go because she knew what she was doing. She didn't need you to figure anything out in there, and you could just talk about whatever. For some of us brothers, like, you know, my whole family, we ride motorcycles too, so it was talking about bikes or riding or whatever, you know. But you think about those group activities too that were light for you and that brought levity and that brought joy, and there's great value in that as well because that's the tribal energy.
Mm.
Babylon doesn't have anything like that other than sports, which you do for money, you know. But the tribal energy is, yeah, when we sitting around cooking, starting fires, fishing, drumming, dancing, freestyle flowing in a cipher or whatever, you know, that's when you now get into your primitive tribal vibration.
You know what? When you said that, that made me think like as we were doing like our studies on like Rome and Peter and stuff. Um, there was this part where it's like, you know, you see how Rome was formulated, and it was like, oh, it was tribes, and that's where you get tribunals. Like, but it really wasn't. Not in the same way you have tribes with people who are melanin dominant or Hebrew. It's a different feel. And I was like, is that kind of like when people get together when you said sports? And it's like people have all those riots because a team won or lost, and then they go into destructive mode. As opposed to something like if you compare it to like when we had our retreat and we had our drum circle, you know, we had our drum celebration. Spirits were hot. Didn't nobody go around, you know, ripping stuff down. Like, you know, everybody was like into their instrument and singing and dancing, and it was all love, and it wasn't this, you know, less I feel so good I want to rip something down. It was exactly the
Yeah.
opposite.
But that's because you were doing it. You know, and I'm sure Aki Zach could speak to this a bit, but I always think it's a bit ludicrous. I don't mean to make fun of anybody, but when they're talking about a sports team and they're using the term we. It's like, what you mean we? Like you weren't at practice.
Right.
You know, you wasn't sitting there with stubbed fingers and sprained ankles, and you know what I'm saying? And at camp, and then you with the jerk coach, you know, who just was riding you, and he had his favorites and stuff like that. You know, and so what do you mean we? Like you just went to Family Dollar and got some Doritos and some dip.
It's a big thing.
Yeah, put some makeup on. Like, yeah, you know, this year we doing it. This year you ain't did nothing. So I think, and again, I don't mean to disrespect any sports fans because my family's also all fighters. So everybody boxed or, you know, well, box. They were all into boxing. So we watched boxing religiously coming up, but it was like the only excitement was around bets, you know, who was betting on the fight. It wasn't really, you know, I mean, dude lost. But I think some of that speaks to, because I'm sure it's not women tearing things out. You know, I'm sure it's guys, and I think a lot of that speaks to the lack of masculinity, the lack of masculine expression. You know, I still watch. I still love to watch Greco-Roman wrestling. I still love to watch mixed martial arts, and I only really those are the only sports. Well, I watch motocross too, but I like those sports because I can use that stuff. Like when I watch boxing or wrestling, I'm literally looking at things that I can use to protect myself and my family. And then you know, when I get with my martial arts brothers, we spar and we try things out. Oh, I saw this one do that, saw that one do that. You know, let me try that different arm bar or something like that, whatever, right? So I'm actually getting an opportunity to express the activity.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you're just watching the activity, it becomes a mental ritual. And at some point, that mental ritual, you're going to feel like you need to act out. You know, when you see somebody hit somebody a certain way, ooh, he hit them like this. And then, of course, in your mind, and I think this all children do that, you want to try it out.
Yeah.
You know, I remember as a child looking at Bruce Lee movies, and then, you know, he did this,
Wrestling.
Making your own
WWE.
nunchucks.
you know, and
Yes.
to work. So I think what it is just really there's a lack of masculine expression. So people are living vicariously through others who are exploring their testosterone, and they're not getting a full result and expression from that because you're just watching it. That's, you know, but Akizak could probably speak to that.
I mean, you don't have to put anything on the line. You don't have to be disappointed. Well, you can be disappointed, but not physically, like really in yourself. Of you let the team down, or you know, I didn't cover this guy, or I didn't put in enough work over the offseason in order to come in. So now I'm out of shape. So now I can possibly lose my position. It's more so I just show up during the game. I put my jersey on because now I'm part of the team, and I start speaking French. We had a tough game. Now, you didn't do anything, right? Now, at the same time, I think it even goes back to another movie. I don't know this.
Mary Poppins.
I don't know this one as well. But in The Gladiator, where...
all right, okay.
Diversity.
I'm open the playbook, you see? Open the playbook. And The Gladiator, one of the things that they were saying was, he was like, the bedrock of this whole civilization is, he was like, you have to have politics and it'll keep everybody together. And he was like, no, the bedrock of it is this pit of this fighting, because it's going to bring everybody in here and he'll have the people. Because as long as they're entertained, they can now be distracted from what is really going on. And I think in a sense, it's allowing people to be distracted from their own F-ups, from their own, maybe I am not that masculine, or maybe I can't run with the bulls, and it's not going to charge me to do anything other than I can put this jersey on, and this, now I can be part of a winning group. Now I can be part of, I can say what we did. Look at, we won a Super Bowl. We went to the playoffs, right? So we actually challenged ourselves in order to commit to something to get up. But in actuality, I didn't do any of that. So, but in order for me to combat that, I now can just say we did it because I watched it, at least. So now I was a part of it in my head. But you weren't a part of it. Or I sat in the cold and I watched the game, so it was cold and my feet were tingling. So I was, you know, and we look what we did, and it feels so good. Yeah, but it'll have a different meaning to you once you have to sit there and you do have that coach just riding you, saying, I just want to squeeze your head, and why you such an F up, and why do you do this, and why don't you come out here and work on something? You don't come out, like, I'm tired. My leg, like, I'm exhausted.
Squeeze your head.
Right. I'm like, what?
It gets.
Why?
They'll talk to you like, and because they know that you want this, especially in college, because they know you want to go to the NFL, right. Or they want you want to go to the next level. So I'm gonna talk to you any kind of way. Because if you combat me, then I'll just tell the people that are coming down here, oh, he's uncoachable, or he has an anger issue, or he has this type of issue. So you better sit there and take it. And if you don't take it, then I'll just ruin your whole future. So now I can say whatever I want to say. So it's just and it's a whole game of or how much, or if you didn't get drafted high, you don't have to be here. So I don't know why these other coaches even brought you in. You know, not even that good. So now you gotta deal with that mental issue, and then you gotta still go out there and perform and make sure that you know your plays. But meanwhile, somebody can sit back and say, I don't got to deal with any of that. We're a winner. Look what we did. Yeah, we won.
It's almost like not getting to the question, right? If it's knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, like, you don't even have the knowledge because you're not doing, you're not in it to learn it, and then because you're not doing it, you never even get to the wisdom. It's like the corrupted information stage. Like, I can take it in because I can watch it, but I still don't know anything about it.
I would say it's like in the new way where it's like the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding give birth to equality. There's no equality because they got the knowledge of it, but there's no wisdom of it because there's no doing. The wisdom comes from the application, which then will give birth to the understanding. Um, and yeah, I can know all about it. Like there's people that'll sit here and argue who's the best player and why he hasn't had the best playing time, and this is what rule needs to be changed, and this is this, and da 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 da. But then, well, okay, why don't you show me what you can do, right? People get paid a lot of money to sit there and just dissect what other people are not doing right.
Mm-hmm.
And this person should be fired, and they should be this, and they should be that. But then when you pull up their stuff, hold on, you really never played. You can't play at all, actually. Oh, well, but that's not why they pay me the big bucks. You just getting paid to run your mouth.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, before you actually have went through something where you say, nah, I understand that that's difficult. I understand the mental challenges this person is going through. I understand. Don't tell me nothing. Like, that's what I think that's even what Chief said. What have you built? You haven't built anything, so you don't get to tell me anything. You don't get shut your mouth. Only thing you do, but a lot of people invest in, I haven't done anything, but I can relate to not running my mouth. So now I have a say-so in it. And look at this, now I can throw rocks at the silverback. I can throw rocks at the lion. And then the lion, it will start to move. But then when that lion turns around and starts to yank your butt up and say, well, let me show you now that you're not even close to where I'm at. Now you want to press charges against the lion. Hey, hold on now, hold on. You should have more self-control. You should be more self-aware. You should, but you don't need any of this. Well, I'm not the professional. Okay, so now we got to play this game, and it's just a never-ending cycle. So
those are good
when you
points,
touch
man, because I think one of the things about that is the humility of being able to value people in your community and look at what each person is going through and kind of ask questions, so what is this like, what is that like, so you don't necessarily have to experience certain things. It just, as you were talking, I was thinking about one time when one of my old martial arts instructors had me teach, well, not teach, but share some ideas. There's a knife system called Sayak Kali, right? And we were studying Sayak, and it's supposed to be like deadly. There's no such thing, though. Deadliest knife system, whatever. It's no such thing, though. You could slip and fall and on a ballpoint pen and go through your chin. And, so whatever's deadliest is whatever works. But he knew all of these different techniques and angles with this knife system. But he was like, yeah, brother, but I want you to really give a lot of your techniques. He said, because you have a lot of real time, real life knife defense. Because I had been in a lot of situations at that time in my life. I had been in a lot of knife fights. Like I even have slices on my body now from knife fights, and I didn't really think anything of that. I'm like, yeah, I had situations where people tried to cut me or stab me or whatever, or we both had knives and I came out, So he bowed to that. He was like, well, you got way more real world experience than I have. So I want to pull from that, and you can run through some of the fights you've had and look at some of these techniques and see what might work and what may not work. And I thought it was such a beautiful moment because I'm in the class with them. I was his uki. Uki is like the in martial arts, the uki is basically a crash test dummy. The uki, it's a blessing and a curse, because you get beat up a lot, because anytime they're trying out a different technique or demonstrating it, they come on, they're going to do it on you, but you also end up learning a lot as well because you know how much stuff hurts, but just that whole experience, but being there and being his right hand, but him being able to turn and say, no, you tell me, because you've had an experience that I haven't had, so I think there's a humility that has to come in where we respect and honor each other, in that way. I got a student, actually, he was on one of the lives not too long ago. It was funny. years ago, when I had one of my first professional fights. It was an old league that they had as mixed martial arts. He was young then. He was probably like fresh out of high school. And a bunch of the other brothers came, whatever, to see my fight. And I won the fight, but the dude lumped me up something crazy. Like he was super froggy. Like he was, he was like a mosquito, just running circles around me and tagging me. And after the fight, I ended up winning by KO. So, I had to knock him out, But after the fight, one of the brothers was like, because the brother's name, I could say his name is Matty. He was like, man, Matty was being so annoying during the whole fight. I was like, what? He was like, yo, he kept saying like, he's right there. Why isn't he hitting him? Just hit him. He's right there. He's right there. And he's like trying to explain to him, it's not as easy as it looks. Like he's there, but trust me, as soon as he goes and he drops that shoulder to throw that punch, he's gonna be over there. Like he's trying to hit him. He hasn't been able to hit him, and he's like, I don't get this. He's right there. Now, interesting, Matty is a bouncer now. But he's a big, gigantic dude, so he doesn't have to know how to fight. And I always tell him like, one day somebody is gonna hurt you. They're gonna figure out you actually can't fight. You just real big for nothing, But it's just an example of something, sometimes we look at certain things like Aki Zach is saying, like we don't realize the work that goes into it. Like me being in a cage, because back then they were like these fences, they were cage matches we would do. And you see me in the dojo getting busy, you see me sparring getting busy. But it's different when you're in the cage, and we both really want this and we're getting paid for this and it's being filmed. It's a different, so we're trying to take each other's head, or we ain't trying to sting each other. We're trying to like knock each other's heads off, So yeah, I would just say that humility is so valuable because we all have had cage matches. It may not have been that where someone's kicking and punching me all upside the face, and whatnot like that. But you may have had that interview where they were just like clearly not trying to give you the gig or just trying to siphon information from you. How do you deal with that? You go in an interview and they're asking you about things you've done and your initiatives, and you could tell you're not going to give me this job, but you're going to steal information. Right? Now you can't, unless you've been in that situation, and y'all nodded because I described it very accurately because it's been done to me and I know it's been done to y'all, right? Unless you've been in that, and it's like a gauntlet, because in the moment you're like, how much are you going to get?
Right.
Because you want the job.
I got to do something. I got to.
Gotta give them something, but you might, are you playing me? I don't know if you're playing me, and you learn how to deal with that. And there's so many other areas that people may find themselves in. And if we could just humble ourselves to that, and just talk to each other, yeah, there will be so many extra tools that we would have without having to get the lumps, if you will,
Yeah, I like the perspective of going to the idea of wisdom and understanding and even connecting it to respect. Because as you all were building, what kept coming to mind was when you shared about Basquiat and his experience with, being peppered with questions about how he creates his art. And earlier you touched on, just the Western perspective is just very linear. So it's like, okay, so step one is I do what, and then what's step two, and then where did you get your canvas from, and what sort of paints, as if that's going to give you what he brought forth in such an organic fashion. And so it just made me think of how disrespectful it must be to experience that, where you are even thinking of what you and Zach spoke on with sports. It's like you're putting all of this work into something that can't really be recreated. Those experiences, whether on the field or in the fence, that can't be recreated. So the person observing you isn't going to do it the way you did it, no matter if his vantage point lets him think that he can or not. So when I think about that and I consider, you know, the value of that fence, it's kind of like, well, you need to make sure that you are fencing out the right things and allowing in those things that are aligned with what you're doing in order for there to be that sense of centeredness or balance of the heart, if you will. So yeah.
You're back to centeredness of the heart again.
I was trying to
I see what you did.
come on.
You know I got a memory. That's
No, not the centeredness, levity of the heart.
You know
what you said.
My bad.
You know what? But and even in that though, it reminds me of when you were sharing too about talking to people. So then that same instance where somebody's asking like someone who creates or an artist, oh, how do you do this? How do you do that? Someone who has that spirit inside them knows that like it comes from within, or you bring forth that. You wouldn't ask somebody that, as you said. So it's kind of like when you were talking to, I think you said it was 3 people, and 2 of them you couldn't really get through to. They were just like, listening very literally, where the other one, you could feel the connection in what they were saying and what you were saying was getting through to them. But like, it doesn't happen when, someone's not naturally bringing forth that. They're just trying to like, well, how do you do this? What's your canvas? What color paint was it? No, I need the exact color paint. And what was the actual store you brought it from?
I think that even goes back to, though, you got to be forged through fire. Right, and I'm a related to, like, so even before you would get to a game, you gotta go through summer conditioning. Summer conditioning is like you do about 30 to 45 minutes of sprints or footwork or training, and you go in there and you work out for 45 minutes to an hour to lift weights, and then you got to finish with like running up the hill, pulling sleds with 45-pound weight. And if you don't make it within a certain amount of time, you just got to come back and you got to do it again. So you start at 5:45 a.m. and if you don't complete that workout within like 2 hours and 15 minutes or something, then you're gonna come back and do it at 3. And it'll start to now, and you go in the locker room, you just laid out, and then you're thinking, what are we gonna do tomorrow? Because you're gonna come back and you're gonna do it again. And now it's just gonna do upper body. Now you're gonna do lower body. Now we're gonna recycle it. So now you being forged though. So if I put you out there on game day, you're gonna have it within you in the 4th quarter when it's 4th and goal, and there's 30 seconds on the clock, and they about to run the isolation. Do you have enough power in you to stuff that in the hole? Now, I'm only saying that because now some people might sit here and are new and they sit and they're like, I'm an online student, right? But then you sit here and you watch people who will come here, and then now you all of a sudden have to, you're building. It's not easy to sit up here and talk 45 minutes and then all of a sudden nobody click and they come on the line and they just sitting back and then watching you perform. So now all of a sudden you have to pull material. You now have to pull like, if I'm standing up here by myself, then let me make sure that I have some information to now at least give somebody, so I'm not just sitting up here by myself. That's going to start to force you to dig through information. Dig through all of these podcasts, dig through books, dig through all of the works that now to make sure now that when I'm sitting up here and you see me like, oh, I can do what they do. Do you know what just went in through that? When you sit and you watch Chief just build for 3 hours, do you know how much he sat down and he had read? So now it's just swirling around in his head. That's not just turning on the camera and just, I'm just going to start talking and then I'm just going to read some comments and I'm just going to go on like that. With or without comments, you see him just flowing, making it look easy. That's because there was preparation that went into that being forged through fire, that I can just I'm sitting back making this look easy. But now all of a sudden you want to come and say, oh yeah, I got the new way, but I never fasted with y'all. I never put down anything to say that I'm going to forge myself and I'm gonna fortify myself to get up here and run with the bulls. I can just put the shirt on. I can just get the book. Oh yeah, I downloaded that. What else you got? I read that. I got that. Yeah, what else you got? But I'm actually not going to commit to this because I know what it's going to require of me to actually become new. And I don't want that.
But you know what, Akizat? Like when I say we're in certain dispensations, tough people don't even have to be told that. You know what I'm saying? Like that's like cat calling.
The bird. It's big. Yeah, backyard happening party.
But that's the thing. Like we're in a time period too where you kind of look at it where it's people who have that lion heart show up because they're going to look at certain things, and it doesn't matter what it takes. I'm doing it, you know. And then you have others, yeah, who sit from the sidelines and, like you said, like, yeah, I'm an archive student, or, you know, I love the teachings and this and that, and I put it together. At some point, you have to, well, I don't want to say you have to, but for me, my concern is not for them. My concern is for those who say, this is a culture I want to live, and I want to help branch and expand and cultivate this culture however I am instructed to by the purveyors of said culture. You know, so I have to add the extra in because there's always that slick, like, well, I tell people at my job. No, you know, that's not the same as when you come into Anu and we're like, you know what, next Friday you're going to do the Shema. What? I do the Shema? You know, I don't know what to say. Like, oh my God, I got a pimple. And that's, you know, like, yeah, well, you're going to do it, you know. So I would say it just, again, it goes back to that warrior spirit, you know, and the warrior spirit is going to, you know, there might be things that are in front of you that are a bit frightening. And the warrior is going to say, I'm not going to allow myself to be frightened by anything, whether that means speaking or having to study, you know, because the study is a big thing, right? Because in the land that we live in, where quote unquote traditional African religions or African traditional religions, ATRs, are so accessible, it doesn't require any thought, doesn't require any study. I mean, when I say things like there are no African traditional religions, that doesn't even make sense if you think about it. You know, you say, well, we didn't have religion, we had spirituality. So why you call it religion? Africa is not a country. So how could you say like everybody does one thing? You know, so it's just so many fallacies, logical fallacies within the concept. But one thing that's abundantly clear, you ain't got to learn nothing. Maybe you might have to learn a song. Maybe you might have to memorize a prayer. Maybe even a dance. That's it. There's no real scholarship that's required of you for the most part. Now, if you study with me, yeah, there is. Because my E5 students know, like, yeah, he had us studying quantum physics. Yep. You know, because you're going to study quantum physics. You're going to study geometry. You're going to study mathematics. You know what I'm saying? Like, because I know the basis of what this is. We're not just people who dance around fires and cut chickens' heads off and spit gin onto each other. You know, but if you're a lazy poop butt, then that's what you're going to gravitate towards. Y'all always think it's so funny when I say, I don't care. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of poop butts out here. You know what I'm saying? Poop butt.
Trying to keep it together.
You know, but if you're a lazy poop butt, then you're going to find the quickest and easiest route, especially if nothing that you're doing can be quantified. So therefore, it can't really be taught, and it really can't be repeated. When you're following a scientific theory as it relates to your spirituality, you can repeat it over and over and over and over and over again. So now you can start to turn out gods in a cookie cutter fashion. You know, give me that little boy, give me that little girl. Watch what give me them for 3 years. Watch what I give you back. You see, but when everything's based on a feeling, dreams, a voice that came to me, you know, a bunch of lazy BS. You know, it's just lazy drunk. You got a drunken mind. You don't want to sober up to anything. So everything is drunken. You can't give. The only thing you can give to people is your hustle. So your children inherit the hustle. That's why a lot of these priests and these priestesses, their children go on to be babas and iyas, and they doing initiations because all they inherit from you is the hustle. But they don't inherit from you a higher level of genetic evolution based on the scholarship that you've put in. Because study is associated with Eurocentric thought. As if Africans, quote unquote, didn't have libraries that were burnt down by Europeans.
Right.
As if we didn't have scrolls that were stolen by Europeans. So they burn the libraries down. They steal all the scrolls and the texts, and then they make you feel like you're lame for studying something or for even going into a library. You're an idiot if you think that way. I have to tell you, you are a straight up fool. And the word fool means to be a vain person. Vain means you're doing things that will yield nothing. You are a straight up fool. You know, so even now, sometimes people try to step up to me like with, you know, oh, well, you were teaching Ifa, you're supposed to be a Babalawo, and now you talking about this. And this is where you got to use most of your energy for me, because you remember I used to fight in rings. So I can still fight. I'm not saying I'm gonna put my hands on anybody. I'm not saying that. I'm saying, but I can still fight mentally. So mentally, sometimes you want to rip a person apart and tell them how stupid they really sound. You know how stupid you sound? Because here's the thing. I know you're going all off the point, but I don't care. We've been on for 3 hours now, and I helped with this show. I came on. I made your show hot. No, I'm playing. But I'm saying, if I was only teaching Ifa, and I was teaching it at a level that you had never witnessed before in your life, beyond what your Baba and your ER were teaching, so that's why you gravitated to me. Don't you think I know something that you don't know? So if I say now, this is the course of study that we need to have, doesn't mean I forgot. Doesn't mean like I was walking down the street and Wile E. Coyote dropped the anvil on my head and where's the Bible? That didn't happen. It means that if I was teaching you that, and I was teaching you in a way that you like, oh my God, I never knew that's what the word Oshun meant, and Ogun is this, and Ifa means this, and Orunmila is this. Oh my God, the way he's putting together, and I didn't know it related to astrology and it related to the Kabbalah. And damn, how's he know all of this?
Mm-hmm.
So if I know all of that and I can teach at that level, and then I give you a gem and say, which I've been saying the whole time, this shows where I've been saying, you know, those are not even their names anymore. Those are not even the Orisha's names anymore. But people skip right past it. I had one person ask me, it was Michelle. She doesn't call herself that anymore. That's why I could say that name. And we were on air, and she said, well, Chief, will you share what the new names are? And I said, no, you ain't ready for it. Y'all still just want spells. You see? So now you want a new name, something new that you can write on the side of a candle and light up and wait for that to walk into the room, right? But the point is, if I'm teaching beyond what you've ever had teaching at, and I can still turn around and cut that chicken's head off and get busy in the shrine, hard body, more than your Baba can, then I know something you don't know. So if I say, okay, now you need to study this Hebraic code, this is where it's at, and you're like, oh man, nah, I just want the Ifa. All right, well, this is what it is. You're not that bright. And the hard part in all of this is me not saying that. You know, honestly, Zach laughing because you know, like, you're not that bright. There's different levels. So we're in Anu, we're postgraduates, okay? And you're still in high school. Maybe you might be in elementary school. You're probably in elementary because you still don't like to study. And we're dealing with things at a doctoral level, where we're breaking down the sciences of these quote unquote traditions. We're not even dealing with tradition. You know, we're breaking down the sciences, and that requires a different level of effort and work. And once that effort and work hits your feet, you say, nah, I just want to dance around the fire and spit gem and see a vision. Anybody can do that. Not everybody can do this. You see, that right there should tell you something. Another thing that should tell you something, your historical enemy has no issue with you doing that. You could put 10,000 elekes around your neck. Nobody gives a crap. I don't even know why y'all still be tucking them. Going through the airport, tucking your elekes. Yeah, you know, like TSA gives a crap. I've gone through the airport. Where was I coming from? Not too long ago. I had an opele with me, and I had my brass opele. So it came up through the the scanner, I didn't even have to open it. I had it wrapped up and I had it in my bag. And I started to go to it, and the TSA, she was like, "Oh no, you don't have to open it. I know what that is." She was like, "My mother's into that. I know exactly." She was like, "You fine." You see, so it's not a secret anymore. Nobody's intimidated by that because they're intimidated by you claiming the sciences of your actual ancestors, of your true ancestors. That's when you get your show canceled. And then you got to invite somebody on and apologize and try to build bridges between our communities. And I misspoken when you start doing that. Now, why is that such an issue? But it's not. I could go on YouTube right now and slit all the goats' necks I want, and do all the readings that I want, and throw all the cowrie shells that I want. Nobody cares. But let me get on YouTube and say, I know about the sun, moon, and stars. And I know where to find literature and texts where we can defeat wickedness in high places. And I can show you how the political movements right now mirror this. And this is how we can use spiritual, mental, and emotional sciences to defeat it and to recreate it and gain sovereignty. And there's a prophecy that is slowly being fulfilled if you watch it that shows that there are people who are losing power and they're scrambling right now. And I'm telling you what's going to happen next, and watch it happens, because over 1,831 of these prophecies have already been fulfilled. Now we got a problem. Now we have a problem. So I'm just saying, it gets to a point, like when I'm saying warrior spirit is that, it's also smart people. And sometimes you have to know, as I've said before, I've said it nicely, some people are just smarter than others. You can't be in Anu for more than a couple of months and not be doing whatever the hell you can to increase your IQ, because you're going to get left behind, and then you're going to start blaming the movement. But it's not the movement's fault. It's that either you're a lazy thinker, genetically you're just not that smart, and you're not humble enough to say, look, I'm not the sharpest, crayon in the box. All right. Yeah, because I got a little trouble with the way I say that. You know what I'm saying? So I had to, but I'm not the sharpest in the box, so I need a little help. Okay, cool. We can work with that, because that means you got a good heart, that you're humble enough to even say that. We can work with that, But so I'm just saying, Akizak, you're absolutely right in what you're saying. But at the same time, the wise only need a hand. And the Levites were chosen for a reason. The children of Yisrael were chosen for a reason. It doesn't mean that the Hamites are inherently cursed, because the Hamites did and do amazing things, but you can't do this thing. This thing is in the blood. And the reason why it doesn't resonate with you, because it ain't in your blood. And what comes along with it being in the blood, you got to be smart. So when I put Medu in front of you, and I put a Dinkra in front of you, and I put Hebrew in front of you, and I put ancient Hebrew in front of you, and then I put 120 in front of you, and then I put the Quran in front of you, and then I put Confucius, the words of Confucius in front of you, you're able to pull them together like Samson did with the pillars. Some people will be like, well, which one am I supposed to follow? Just pick one. Just go and then go follow it. This ain't for you. And I know that may sound harsh to some people, but we're living in a harsh time, and we have to be honest about who we're speaking to when we speak it, and who we want to be around. There are people who are still stuck on Ifa information I gave 15, 20 years ago. And they like, and you coming around for that. Don't come around here for that. You're going to get some of that, but you're going to get some of other stuff too. Or you might not get any of it. I might not feel like talking about that. But whatever you're getting is what you're supposed to get in this day and time. But it requires heart, because if you don't have a heart for the people, if you don't understand the times that we in, none of this is going to make sense to you anyway. because you probably just looking for something to follow because life didn't work out for you. So you're looking for an excuse. You always knew I was different. This is why I was always failing out of school and the teachers nah, that wasn't why. You just was dumb. You smoke weed too much. You know what I mean? Like, no, that ain't why. Don't blame it on God. You just dumb. You know, you need to go to Job Corps or something. You need to go down to the one-stop center and learn how to type up a resume and things like that. That may be your issue. You know, so it's not the same, you know. And then there are just some people who can stand on top of the mountain and they can see the code. That's who we're talking to. There's a code. This ain't about holding up a Bible and saying, well, you got to live by this. There's flaws in that. But can you see the flaws? Or do you just lazily say, well, you know, there's all so many errors in that book. Where are they? I went to church, so we ain't in church. You know, and I know I'm talking to a lot of people at the same time right now. Because sometimes y'all say stupid things that I'm quiet about because I don't want to cut your head off. Because I still want to give you an opportunity. I don't want to slam that door in your face. And that takes a lot of energy. Because sometimes y'all say really stupid things. Here's one. That's a white man's book. Well,
because it's on white pages. That's
right. Come on, think about it. You know.
I read.
But it's like, all right, so where's this other book? You see, we have over 2,000 languages alone on the African continent. You know how many deities, how many texts we have? That's a white man's book, but he only wrote one in all these years. Don't you think he would have wrote more if he wrote that book? It's like The Matrix. The only good one was the first one. The rest were garbage. Leading up to the last resurrections, that should have been called The Matrix Refunded, not The Matrix Resurrected. I want to read that joint was garbage. Neo couldn't even fly, right? You know what I'm saying? I want a refund.
Stupid.
I mean, I want a doggone refund. So, so the thing I'm saying is,
everybody share the video before we get canceled.
yeah. I was just saying, cut the commercial. I'm just saying, man, like, these are the stupid things that people say. You know what I'm saying? And it takes a lot of work not to say something back. You don't come out of the caves of Europe and you just come out with this amazing mythology. Right. And for some weird reason, the mythologies that you do have seem to miraculously mirror all of the African theologies that are much older than it. No. And historically, you didn't even have your own language. Your language was given to you by monks. Moorish monks. You see? Now, if they were Moorish monks, that tells me that even the religion that you say, you didn't even start that. Because the monks were the historians. They were the keepers. And they would give languages. Here, y'all grunting, and stop grunting. Apple. You know, me, Mustafa. You, Chad. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you know, these things don't make sense. And if you're not a critical thinker, you're just gonna keep saying stupid things. You know, like something this intricate and this profound, the people who you're attributing to have never come up with anything like that. Never. You see? And then to have it repeated throughout time. You look at Buddhism, you see, and look at the early Shakyamuni, look at the early statues when he's got the cornrows. You know, you look at Krishna. Why is it the early Christians were jet black, not blue? Yeah. So over and over and over again, these Shemitic people, these black Shemitic people were unrolling the scroll. Here, here, here. You get some, you get some, you get some, you get some. You see, but you ain't unrolled no scroll. So it's just stupidity, man. I don't know. I find it detestable. But you know, the work is just to keep your mouth shut and say, yeah, I hear what you're saying. All right, yeah. Well, I studied that book. You ain't studied. Here's another thing. I'm gonna say this last rant before I'm gonna let y'all go. now because I'm, my ceiling.
Tell him
Yeah, tell him I'm mad.
This is levity, right? Get it on. Cut away. This is levity.
Yeah. A lot of y'all don't know how to research. And you throw that word research around way too much. There was someone who used to be in our new, and she was always saying stupid stuff constantly. And whenever she would get backed into a corner, she would say, well, in my research, that's what I found. And it's like, what are you talking about? Like, do you know what research actually is? There was a brother, he listening, who said something recently. He said, well, in my research, I saw that the New Testament was written in Arabic. I ain't gonna say who said it, but you know. I should have laughed at him. Come on now. Don't do that to him. Okay. Because I didn't say anything then. I was like, here we go with this research BS. There's no way you could have researched if you thought, and I said, no, I think you mean Aramaic. You mixed up the words. And he went and checked again. He was like, oh, yeah, you're right, Chief. Yeah, I know I'm right. Because what you just said didn't make any sense. You probably, while we were on the phone, looked it up real quick, went to Wikipedia, scanned it real quick with your eyes, and then got back on the phone and said, in my research. That's another issue. People who have truly researched this and what they're doing, sometimes, and I'm not saying this to the person, I'm just saying in general, sometimes you got to humble yourself to that. You don't just, I know people who like grew up in church. So when they like, whenever I hear the Bible, I don't know, I'm just traumatized. You didn't study the Bible in church. I know you didn't. Well, after I had my third child, unmarried, I decided just to get rid of the Bible. How was you studying and you sitting here sexing and on doing everything everybody else doing? You wasn't in it. There are people who really studied this thing and have broken it apart beyond, and just because they're cool with you doesn't mean y'all have equal smarts. They're just being gracious because they could turn up the volume and you get lost quick. You see, my aunt recently, I was talking to my aunt and she was like, I watch your shows sometimes. And she was like, I enjoy them, but I admit, I don't know what the heck you're talking about. And I was like, that's all right, auntie. And she was like, my pops used to say the same thing. He'd be like, yeah, I'll be following you along. He said, but sometimes you go into high gear and you just go somewhere else. But there's an acknowledgement there, like, yeah, he's into this thing. I'm not that far into it. And that's a humility that needs to be had as well in order for us to grow, that a lot of people don't have. So that whole research thing, your research doesn't equal my research. Just because you say the word research, it doesn't level the playing field. Because tell me how you researched. And then was there any true comparative research? Was anything reviewed by someone else that you, before you brought it to someone else, that you say, hey, you're also into this. What do you think of this? Does this make sense? Well, what are your sources? Here's my sources. Here's my notes. And on top of that, are you really a researcher? On top of that, is that really what you do? Or are you calling yourself a researcher because you can go to google.com? Because data research is a career. There's people who get paid for data analysis, data research, and data science. And I promise you, they're not just going on Google and seeing what's in the first three search positions and saying I research. Yes, man, that's all I want to say, man. This ain't for everybody, man. It ain't for most of you. And for the smart people, that's who it's for. And the people who got warrior spirit, who are not going to look at the world and be like, all right, I'll let the world just ram me up with no Vaseline. If because that's really what it is. I was trying to just find a nicer way to say it. Some people are suckers and some people aren't. So if you're a sucker, yeah, you're going to go back like the Matrix. You're going to eat the steak, even though you know it's fake. If you're not a sucker, you're going to say, then I want the best of what there is supposed to be. And I'm not going to let any man rule over me. That's not going to happen, especially an alien. Mm-hmm. You're not even of my group, and I'm going to let you rule over me for your agenda. But some suckers would rather be in that position and at least know, At least I know where my meal is coming from. Some suckers would just rather take it raw and put the Kool-Aid lipstick on and the mop wig. Go ahead, what was y'all talking about?
Not that.
Coagulated blood.
Right. Not Kool-Aid lipstick and mop wigs. That's for sure.
Same.
If you wanted to stay tethered, you would do it. That's that. If you wanted to stay with the gravity, down, 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 then you would do it. You would let them do that to you. Lipstick and all.
I ain't letting nobody do that to me because the Most High made me big and strong and beautiful. And yo, like I serve a mighty creator. So ain't no who's better than me. You know, when Kunta's father held him up and said, "Behold, the only thing greater than yourself." Yeah. I feel like that every single day. You know what I mean? So why would I let somebody come and usurp what the creator has already given me? The creator has said, yo, go be fruitful, go do this, go do that, go do that, go do that. And I'm gonna let some soulless chump get in the middle of that? Hell no. Nah. If that's your thing, then you know who your daddy is.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like you are of your father, the devil, and the works of your father ye shall do. But my pops like is ginormous, if you will, to make up a name, and we don't break for anybody. Straight up, we don't break for anybody, man. That I don't know. My stomach would be sick if I did that.
Mm-hmm. And plus, we were told not to. That was the instruction.
Yeah, well, we don't listen to what we told, man.
We don't. But I was trying to like keep us up, keep us light.
Nah, man. You know what keeps you light is that feeling in your gut.
Yeah.
You know that's what keeps you light. It's beyond the logical reasoning when it's just like, it's just a twisted up face and like, I ain't. That's not what I do. I remember my little brother pulled a knife on me once, man. And you know we joke about it to this day. That boy, he was gonna kill me because I used to bully him. You know, and one day I backed him in the corner in the kitchen. He went into the cutlery drawer. He was crying, pulled out a knife and started jigging. You know, we talk about it to this day. You know, you laugh at it, but it was like, you know, because I remember one time, you know, my mother was like, "Well, what'd you do after that?" I was like, "I ain't never bullied him again after that."
Mm-hmm.
Like he made it clear, like I'm ready to die for mine. And we were little boys, but I knew like, all right, damn, all right, you know, nah, I ain't about that life. You ain't gonna have me leaking in the kitchen, you know, just because I was throwing something at you or whatever, you know. But he made it clear, like, even though he's crying, he couldn't formulate the words, like, you are not gonna do that to me.
Mm-hmm.
Point blank, like I'm not having it, you know. So there are certain things I think when you have that spirit that's active inside of you. You know, my little brother's a minister, by the way, today. You know what I'm saying? To be clear. He's still be fighting though. he still needs some polishing. But but the point I'm saying is that when you have that fire inside of you and that awareness, it doesn't even take like you just know I'm not bending to Baal. I'm not breaking my back to that. No, it's not happening because I'm pointing up to the sky, and I'm not bowing for anything on the horizontal. Point blank.
Thanks. I'm trying to go to. Okay, I have to watch Spaceballs too.
I don't break for anyone.
It's like my dad's favorite movies. Hilarious.
I've never seen it. I only know that they had the oversized Darth Vader helmet and the guy that messed him in it that looked like a cat or a rat or something. I don't know.
Oh, bars.
Yeah, my aunt did that to my uncle once when they were younger. Grants was like, "I told you stop messing with that girl."
Mm-hmm. That's how we have to be when it comes to Babylonian social structure.
Mm-hmm.
when it says guard the Sabbath,
Yeah.
how many of you perceive it like that? Like you guard it like that. If I put an assault rifle in your hand
Mm-hmm.
and I said this assault rifle will keep your family safe, right? How would you hold it?
I would be
Like
able,
that.
ready to like shoot
Like
it.
Would it be like this?
No.
No.
I don't know.
You'd have a strong grip on it. You'd have a strap going around you, right? So you don't lose it. You would guard it.
Mhm.
Just as simple as that. You
Pace
would.
back and forth in front of the door.
I doubt if you do that, but come on.
Oh man, okay.
Got multiple doors.
I'll be pointing to the window.
Which
Let's not
one?
get crazy.
Which one?
Let's not get
That
crazy.
She like, I don't know. Just all of them.
Nah, you know what? I'll be on the roof. I'll be on the roof.
You ain't getting it. You're not getting the strap. Clearly.
Yeah. You got to guard your culture that way. And that's the fence that the Levites put around the tradition. That's the sayag. You gotta guard it that way in order to keep that levity of the heart.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And that's why I don't have a problem saying like, no, this is for smart people who are warriors. That's why Asafo, warrior people. When you hear me say warrior scholar, you gotta pay attention to what I'm saying. Warrior scholar. You know, you gotta have both because you could be a scholar, but you could be like a Cornel West type. You know what I mean? You might not have a thread of warrior energy in you. You tenured. I'm good money. You know, or you could be a warrior who has really no conscience and no purpose. You just like fighting. You know, so you have to have that Shiva and that Shakti in order for you to ascend because we're inundated now. We're in a deluge where it's not easy anymore. It's not easy anymore to be conscious. We had it easy at one point. Those days are over. You know, now you got to have multiple things happening at once. And that's you got to be a warrior in the sense that like you have to take a look at everything that you're doing that's causing you to succumb. Taxes, interest rates, debt. You know, that's where your warriorhood steps in. You know, does this make sense? Maybe I need to live differently. You know, and then there has to be that scholarship where you go deeper beyond your emotional immature reaction. Oh, I'm gonna change my name because you know that's a such and such name and that. All right, well, what's your new name mean? I don't know. I looked it up and it's freedom.
Resonated with me.
Yeah, it mean good luck.
Wealth.
Right. You know what I'm saying? Like there has to be both of those pieces in, and without them, you know, you're at least I could say for the men, without those two things, I don't think your sperm is worth much. Yeah, I don't think your sperm is worth too much. Because what woman wouldn't want to be with a warrior who also has an answer for everything? What sane woman? I mean, you got some idiots out here just want to get flowed out, you know. But yeah, so go on, DJ, close down, man. I mean, y'all face.
You said a lot. I did not want to interrupt. I will just say to the chat real quick. Naya says she aimed and ready. That's
Aimed and ready. Aiming at what? And ready for what? Naya just said she got 19 towels in her house. So what's she ready for? She ready for the Halloween.
Showering. Right.
What's up as a goat? She ready for the clan rally.
She's gonna be clean and dry.
I got these towels to cut some holes for the eyes. And that's all she ready for. She ain't about to do nothing.
Aki Low said he'll see clamp it and get low and move. But he ain't got no training.
He might actually. You talk about somebody who came with stuff. El Karar came with reflectors to the retreat, body reflectors. You see them, Zach?
He came with a travel size. I thought he had a whole football shoulder pads, pants. I don't know if y'all seen his bag. That bag was like the size of a twin-size bed.
He came prepared. Okay.
Yeah, he was not playing, boy.
And after my heart.
You know what I'm saying?
Go
He
pack
like-
the bags too.
Right.
Next week is gonna be primitive camping, bug out bags only. That's what I'm looking at.
Didn't you have a heated blanket?
I don't know what you're
How
talking
about that on the first one?
Yeah.
about. I don't know what you're talking
Yes.
about.
That's what you did.
What are you talking
It was
about?
still cold.
What are you
Right. Yeah, I need more. Let me get your blanket.
What you saying right now?
Who is there?
Let me use your blanket for a pillow.
Where's the proof?
Wait, it's raining in my tent. What is this? Oh, it's dew. Right, you can't even deny that one. It's like it's raining in here.
Yeah.
But then she's talking about primitive camping. Ain't no bathrooms.
We're gonna try it. We're gonna try it.
I didn't use those bathrooms. I told y'all. I didn't use those bathrooms. And y'all didn't know till I told y'all. You got to think about the skill.
That's some stealthiness. Like what?
Keep it a buck. You ain't smell nothing.
I
Keep
said
it a buck.
stealthy.
Yeah. Because when you eat healthy, you ain't what's coming out ain't really, you know what I'm saying? It's like a little, it's innocent. That's the word. It's innocent. Yeah. When you don't eat healthy, let me tell you how you know somebody don't eat healthy. People don't eat healthy when they release their bowels, they just flush. They don't look at it. That's how you know. Yeah, that's it. Because they don't trust what's coming out of them. That's why you don't never listen to somebody, because you can't trust what's coming out their mouth either. You see? But when you eat healthy, you have no problem going and breaking through a little, see what's in there, whatever. You know what I mean?
Oh, I thought you meant just look.
Either one. Either one.
I'm sorry.
Sometimes you need to, you know what I mean? Just break it apart. See what's going on, if it's fibrous, if it's seedy, if it's nutty. Yeah.
Look at that.
Hey, man,
I don't know about that one.
let me tell you something. When I used to not feel well when I was a child, that's the first thing my mother would ask me. The very first thing. What's your stool like? I used to hate that question. How's your stool? I don't know. Mommy, it's doodly.
Yeah, I asked that, but just for looking purposes. Not...
But that's the first question she would always ask, and then she would go into remedies from that. Oh, mommy, it was light color, looked like clay. Oh, you dehydrated. Oh, it was green. It was green. You had some French fries, something McDonald's, didn't you? Yeah, I had some French fries. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. So that what comes out of you tells you everything. Sometimes you gotta
indicator.
Get down in that bowl, get down in there and see what's going on.
I don't know about that part. Full examination. Innocent body weighs no such things. The baby's got stinky poop now.
You know, there's a coffee that's drunk that they drink. I forget what country, where they have the cats. They take the cat poo and they take the beans out of the cats.
I have heard of that.
Yeah, that's a real thing. I don't drink coffee, but I know
stinky coffee too. Right?
I don't drink coffee.
You would think it would be.
It's very expensive. It's like a delicacy.
Coffee, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I can look for some beans next time. See if you want to try to hook up some hummus or something.
Yeah, Faye, that's for you. Right?
Yeah.
Cat poop beans? I mean,
I'm gonna pass. I'm gonna pass that to my sister.
Chief. Huh? Chief hummus. Yummus. We'll call it yummus.
On yuckus. You on yuckus. You on yuckus day.
I gotta think outside the box. That's the problem. Hey man, close this thing down, man. We got things to do.
Okay. You don't want Maria looking out in the street looking crazy. She said we got her looking crazy because she's laughing so hard. Thanks. Many thanks, Akizak, Chief, and Yakira, Eden. Thank you so much for joining, because Clubhouse was just a technical difficulty. So this was cool. This was really, really cool. So we'll try it again next strong when we do our midday affirmation. I believe Master Elect is next, if I'm not mistaken. But join us this coming strong. We have our Anu movie breakdown. Maleficent. We got Maleficent.
Yeah, all these, man, I'm out. All these
Okay,
guys.
peace. We're gonna do Maleficent. We're gonna do Peace After That. We're gonna do Maleficent, and you can join us again for the Yom Shishi Fellowship. So give thanks everyone for joining. Give thanks for engagement in the chat. Make sure to like, share, subscribe. Send the video out just in case, because we don't there's a lot discussed. Maybe some trigger words. Send the video out. Give thanks. Peace, everyone.